Chapter 221. C221 I'll close the door for you, sorry to bother you. Then, they attacked at the same time. One immortal weapon of the Immortal King level was already a big deal, not to mention 3 immortal weapons of the Immortal King level. The 6 statues were shattered by the impact, and the 6 battle formations collapsed in an instant. Screams came one after another, and there were heavy casualties. Yi Junlin held the Kangyuan sword and swung it continuously. The sword energy was surging in circles, harvesting countless heads. The clone of Yi Junlin on the left opened the heaven burial coffin and sucked in tens of thousands of Hades soldiers, leaving no trace of their bodies. The clone of Yi Junlin on the right played the flute, and the sound of the flute turned into a materialized sound wave, which killed a large number of Hades soldiers, and their bodies were shaken into a ball of blood mist. The 3 of them worked together with great efficiency, killing 600,000 Hades soldiers and leaving less than 200,000 in a blink of an eye. It can be said to be extremely brutal. Puff. Swept by a sword, Ming Feng spat out blood and flew backwards for hundreds of feet. Looking at the broken spear in his hand, his pupils trembled with fear. Save me, save me. One after another, the cries for help from colleagues rang out. Soon, they were either killed by a sword, or sucked into the burial coffin and died without a complete body, or were shocked to death by the sound waves of the longevity flute. Looking at the 6 leaders of the underworld who had originally come out, it didn't take long for him to be the only one left. Ming Feng was so scared that his scalp numbed and he almost doubted whether he was dreaming. If it was a dream, then this dream was too terrifying. I thought I could come to this backward world with an invincible attitude and wantonly bully the weak, but in the end I found that the clown was actually me. Do I need to be so mentally ill? This native of Kunlun realm, his strength is too abnormal, right? Directly activate 3 Immortal King level immortal weapons and crush them. Are you sure this is something a celestial immortal can do? Ming Feng felt cheated by this defeat, because it overturned his previous cognition. Commander, we can't beat him at all. The immortal weapon in his hand is really too strong. Yes, the 3 Immortal King level immortal weapons, what do we have compared to him? They are all broken copper and rotten iron. How can we fight? Isn't it said that the cultivators in Kunlun realm are very weak? This is so weak. Save me, save me, save me, save me. The surroundings were filled with wailing, cries for help, and screams. Watching the subordinates around him die without resistance, Ming Feng felt desperate in his heart. He no longer had the high will to fight when he came out, and the lofty ambition to make achievements. How can this battle be fought? Fight a hair. Ming Feng, who was full of anger, glared at the dumbfounded Ming Wanjin, and scolded, "It's all your fault for sending us a message. Because of your misjudgment, how many compatriots of the Ming clan were killed?" Ming Wanjin, quote, "Fuck you, can you blame me for this? How did I know there would be such a monster in Kunlun realm? You came here with an air of superiority, but when you were beaten to the point of doubting your life, you started to pass the buck. I owe you this, don't I?" Facing the accusations of his colleagues, Ming Wanjin was really aggrieved. No, he has to pass the buck too. While thinking, looking at the dull expression of the Tianong patriarch on the other side, Ming Wanjin shouted angrily. "It's all your fault, you bastard. Who told you to open the Stargate now? Because of your misjudgment, we suffered heavy losses. How are you going to repay this blood debt?" Quote. Tianong patriarch, quote, "Isn't that too much? You pass the buck to me. Who knows that you seem to be so awesome, but your strength is so weak. You're going too far. At this point, do you think I will still give you face?" Humph. Quote. The more Tianong patriarch thought about it, the angrier he became. His white hair and beard stood up, and his eyes were burning with anger. In extreme anger, he rushed over and slapped Chen Xiao to the ground in front of Ming Wanjin's incredulous eyes. "It's all your fault. Because of your solar immortal body, I opened the Stargate to extradite all the adults. Now that things have come to this, what crime should you be punished for?" Quote. Tianong patriarch roared in frustration. Chen Xiao lay on the ground in a mess, covering his bloody face, with several big question marks appearing in his head. He was already mentally ill after being hit, and now he was slapped by Tianong patriarch. His mind became even more confused, and the whole person kept rolling on the ground, emitting a harsh laugh. "Blame me. It's all my fault. Ha 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 ha, ha ha hey hey hey. Pooh, bad luck." Tianong patriarch spat at him viciously, and then shouted to Ming Feng and Ming Wanjin, "My 2 lords, this kid has confessed his guilt." Ming Feng, Ming Wanjin. Soon, as the number of the Ming army rapidly decreased, there were less than 10,000 left, and the 2 of them completely gave up their fantasy. I originally wanted to gamble, but now I find that I can't afford it. If we don't retreat, it will be too late. Retreat. Retreat quickly. Mingfeng and Ming Wanjin shouted hysterically, their hearts full of sadness. The senior leaders of the clan would never have thought that the first battle of invading Kunlun realm would end with such a bleak ending. This is a shame, a huge shame. Humph, want to run? 3 clear voices echoed in the sky at the same time, and Yi Junlin and the other 2 clones urged the Immortal King level immortal weapons to kill them. Quote, the group of Hades soldiers who wanted to escape into the Stargate were beaten to death one after another in the face of horror. When they died, they cried for their parents, not as fierce as when they first appeared. It was quite ironic. My lord, don't leave us. The 5 ancestors were all panicked. If they stayed, it would be more painful than death. After all, they were traitors to the human race and the entire Kunlun world. They knew very well what the fate of traitors would be. Get out! Ming Wanjin roared and slapped his palm to hit them away, trying to use the 5 ancestors to delay time. Tianong Patriarch was shocked and angry. How could you be so vicious? Okay, then I won't be a human being either. In that case, let's die together. Tianong Patriarch performed the feathering ascension art, and his combat power soared wildly. He and the other 4 ancestors kept pace with each other and joined forces to hold Ming Wanjin back. Ming Wanjin was shocked. He was seriously injured by the immortal weapon of the Immortal King level, and his combat power had already dropped to the level of the true immortal. At this moment, he was held by the 5 ancestors together, and it was difficult for him to break free for a while. You are so brave, let me go. Ming Wanjin said angrily. Haha, it's not a loss to pull the last one. Tianong Patriarch laughed up to the sky, his eyes full of madness, 2 lines of turbid tears slid down, and the despair in his heart can be imagined. Unexpectedly, they sat behind the scenes of Yuhuaman for many years, and thought they could catch up with a great era, but ended up with such a miserable end. This may be fate. Die. In the sky, golden sword energy fell like a waterfall. The 5 ancestors of Yuhuaman were in a sad mood, their bodies were destroyed, and their souls were extinguished. Before he died, Ming Wanjin had the urge to curse, but before he could start cursing, he left very peacefully. Everything happened too fast. Feeling the murderous intent that followed, Mingfeng was so scared that his soul was scared and his hair stood on end. He burst out with a rare escape speed in his life. When he was about to escape into the Stargate, he recalled the conversation just now in his mind. Suddenly, 2 key pieces of information were captured. Sun Immortal Body, Stargate. Come here. Mingfeng gritted his teeth, raised his hand, and grabbed the lingering Chen Xiao in his hand, like an eagle catching a chick, and flew into the Stargate. Hula la la, all the solar energy of the Stargate instantly flowed back into Chen Xiao's body, and the Stargate, which lost its energy support, closed directly. Rumble, a huge pit collapsed on the ground where the Stargate was located, and dust rolled. But unfortunately, the Stargate had turned into an illusion, and Mingfeng and Chen Xiao on the other side of the gate had escaped this disaster by luck. There were corpses everywhere, and smoke filled the air. The 3 figures reunited into one person, standing quietly with a sword in hand. The outside world was silent. With his own strength, he slaughtered hundreds of thousands of true immortals. He killed the invaders and made them flee in panic, and he closed the door very politely before leaving. With this kind of operation, who in the entire Kunlun world can do it? Let me ask, who else? Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article feed. Placement. Below article feed. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 222. C222 I have a bold idea. I'm not very capable, but I can slip away pretty fast. Yi Junlin curled his lips and said disdainfully. Although there are only 2 fish that slipped through the net, it doesn't matter. Overall, it is quite satisfactory. If there were a few more waves of underworld armies, there would really be no drop of the immortal power in his body. After all, with a mere celestial immortal level cultivation, forcibly activating the legendary immortal lord level immortal weapon is really a waste of immortal power. What's more, he also used 1 chi to transform 3 pure things, and had to activate 2 more immortal lord level immortal weapons. The pressure was actually quite high. As for Yi Junlin's distress, if other immortals knew about it, they would be so angry that they would vomit blood. Just kidding, if you can activate an immortal lord level fairy weapon with a celestial immortal level cultivation level, you are already a monster level existence. And activating 3 immortal lord level immortal weapons at the same time, this is probably not the ancestor of the monster. Looking at that peerless figure, the monks were stunned and felt that their hearts could hardly bear it. Good guy, those are hundreds of thousands of true immortals, and each one of them can stir up troubles in all directions in the Kunlun world. As a result, Senior Yi was killed indiscriminately, killing as many as he came. It's really a rat biting a cow's butt. Rat food is awesome. Fierce, too fierce. It's hard to imagine that there is such a strong man in this world. Strong, 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 strong. After a brief silence, the crowd burst into earth-shattering cheers. Because they knew that the eastern region had just experienced an unprecedented catastrophe. As the savior who saved the 14 states of the Eastern Territory, he was naturally as dazzling as the sun, causing countless creatures to worship him and feel grateful. Ha ha ha, as you can see, my master's cultivation is astounding, and his strength is unfathomable. Let alone hundreds of thousands of immortals, so what if there are millions and tens of millions more? Li Wuji's face flushed with excitement, he patted his chest, and said proudly, and those who didn't know thought he had a share of the credit. Does this guy really have no bottleneck period? Hong Chenny murmured with an incredible expression. I thought it was going to be an extremely brutal battle, but I didn't expect it to end so quickly. In his impression, all the powerful immortals were just beings who could be killed instantly with the snap of a finger. Isn't this too outrageous? Miss, it seems that we still seriously underestimated Yi Shengxian's strength before. Fan Desheng from Taoist sect said with emotion. In the past, if any Taoist lineage produced an immortal, it would usher in a period of great power. Therefore, in the public mind, an immortal meant invincibility and was the top of the food chain in the world of cultivation. But now, this concept has been completely broken. It turns out that the gap between immortals can be that big. Miss, are you listening? Seeing that the woman beside him didn't respond, Fan Desheng looked over in confusion, and then looked strange. At this moment, and Miao Yi was looking at him dreamily, her eyes were filled with the figure in black holding a sword, her heartbeat was beating like a deer's, and her breathing was rapid. Facing such a domineering and invincible man, she really had no resistance. Miss, pay attention to your appearance, your saliva is almost drooling. Fan Desheng reminded me depressedly. And Miao Yi's face turned red, she quickly wiped her saliva, then clenched her pink fist and hammered Fan Desheng's chest, and said angrily, Uncle Fan, you are talking nonsense, how can I not? Fan Desheng almost suffered a cardiac arrest. He clutched his chest and stumbled back a few steps, his face full of doubts about life. No, I just kindly remind you, and you hit me with your fist. I am your Uncle Fan. I used to hold you when you were a baby. Have you forgotten all about it? Oh, Uncle Fan, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it just now, and Miao Yi realized that she had made a mistake, and like a child who had done something wrong, she lowered her head and apologized quickly. Ahem, Fanda was covering his chest, his face gradually softened, and he said with a wry smile, Miss, it's my fault. I shouldn't have said anything. You continue, continue. With that said, Fan Desheng turned around, leaving behind a lonely figure. See it, and Miao Yi blames herself. She should learn to control herself. Don't let any water flow. Amid the cheers, Shui Wuan suppressed the excitement in her heart and said with respect, Senior Yi. What are you doing? Yi Junlin raised his sword and turned around. On behalf of all the creatures in the Eastern Territory, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to you. Immortal. Well, as long as you are happy. Yi Junlin put away his sword and stretched lazily, the amount of activity today has seriously exceeded the standard. I'm going to lie down, and you can handle the rest by yourself. After saying that, he flashed to the small island on Kunpeng's back. He leaned comfortably on the recliner and put on the eye mask skillfully. His expression was particularly peaceful and he began to fall asleep. Life is very regular, and we maintain an ordinary person's schedule. This scene fell into Shui Wuan's eyes, with deep admiration in her eyes, as expected of Senior Yi, this kind of state of returning to nature is something I cannot achieve. Then, Shui Wuan's eyes glanced at the Yuha gate, and his eyes became cold, as if he had returned to the cold image of the decisive and decisive swordsman in white. The Yuha sect is acting rebelliously and colluding with foreign races to persecute our compatriots. This crime is unforgivable. Starting today, we will eradicate them. The cold and ruthless voice was like a sentence pronounced by the gods, echoing in this ancient fairy gate that has been passed down for a long time. After being ravaged by the aftermath of the battle, the Yuha sect was already riddled with holes and devastated, but there were still some people who were struggling to survive. At this time, they were thinking about how to slip away. As a result, when they heard this voice, their eyes were filled with deep despair. No, the next moment, the monks sneered and attacked the remnants of the Yuha sect. Screams and pleas for mercy rang out one after another. The mountains collapsed with a rumble, all the buildings were destroyed, thick smoke billowed, and flames shot up into the sky. How could my Yuha sect be like this? How could it be like this? In the ruins, an elder cried bitterly, regretting too late. Fellow Taoists, no one is without faults, can you give me a chance? Even if I have to be punished by thunder, I will accept it. Some inner disciples begged bitterly, trying to fight for a glimmer of life. But no matter what they did, they could not escape the fate of being killed. On weekdays, this group of elders and disciples of Yuha sect are all top-notch strongmen in the outside world, with halos and many honors on their heads, but now, they have become rats crossing the street and everyone shouts and beats them. Anyone caught will be killed without mercy. It's really a cycle of change, sad and lamentable. Look, that's the sutra library. Oh my god, there must be a lot of Taoist methods in it, first come first served. Go. Many cultivators took this opportunity to rush into the sutra library to search for skills, their faces full of excitement. After all, Yuha sect has stood in the East region for countless years, and there are so many Taoist methods collected. This is a huge temptation. Now there is a chance to plunder, of course everyone is unwilling to let it go. Boom. At this moment, a large group of terrifying red flames fell, and the sutra library exploded instantly on the spot, with flames flying all over the sky, and countless jade tablets containing Taoist methods disappeared. Looking at the blazing sea of fire in front of them, many excited monks were stunned. A big fire ruined their dreams. Who was so crazy that he actually did such a wicked thing that was struck by lightning? Fuck, who did it? Come out and fight. A tall male monk fell into a rampage state, roaring with bloodshot eyes. Hee, are you sure? A voice with 3 parts of playfulness and 7 parts of lightness sounded, and a red figure slowly landed in front of everyone. Hiss. The tall man took a deep breath, as if a basin of ice water was poured down and cooled him from head to toe. Who is this? Yi Shengxian's most beloved disciple. Gao Danan wanted to strike hard, but when he saw the person coming, he immediately became timid, with a cautious and flattering smile on his face. Hong, Fairy Hong, may I ask why you want to burn down this sutra library? Isn't it better to keep it for the benefit of future generations? Hong Chenny sneered, no reason, it's burned, you have a problem with me. Ah this. Gao Danan was stunned, then smiled and said, Fairy Hong is really a person of temperament, I admire you. Get lost. Hong Chenny flicked her sleeves and shouted impatiently. Okay. Gao Danan was as if he had been pardoned, and he turned around and ran away in fear. Others saw this and also dodged away. Slip away, can't afford to offend. Tisk, a bunch of rabble. Hong Chenny said with contempt, then turned his head to look at the burning fire. The firelight reflected his flawless, beautiful face that made all women in the world jealous. The beautiful phoenix eyes were filled with excitement. Yes, that's the feeling. In the past, his favorite thing to do in the central region was to burn down the sutra library of a certain sect. He would have a sense of accomplishment of destroying other people's hard work. Now he picked up his old job again, and the familiar feeling came back. At this time, in the ancient temple deep in the Yuha Gate, there was a tablet of the founder of the sect. It was cold and deserted, and the atmosphere was full of solemnity. Bang! The door was kicked into pieces. Li Wuji stepped in with a long knife. Humph! I thought there was something here, but it turned out that there was a piece of rotten wood. Li Wuji looked at the tablet at the top without any awe, and said with disdain. Suddenly, he stroked his chin, and a bad smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Li Wuji had a bold idea for this tablet that symbolized the founder of Yuha sect. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article feed. Placement. Below article feed, target _type, mix. Chapter 223. C223 The founder of Yuha sect. Ah, my eyes. Li Wuji raised his hand to remove the tablet, then threw it in front of him, then unbuttoned his belt and said proudly, Hey, Mr. Li, I'm going to give you a surprise. Don't worry, I've been angry recently. It won't let you taste the sweetness. That's right, Li Wuji was planning to urinate on the memorial tablet of the founder of the Yuha sect. To know, if this kind of treasonous and unethical behavior had been carried out in the past, the Yuha sect would definitely have hunted it down to the end. But now that the trees have fallen and the monkeys have dispersed, the Yuha sect has long lost its strong men. How can they protect the memorial tablet of the founder? Woolen cloth. Speaking of the founder of the Yuha sect, he was definitely a legendary figure from the ancient times. He had outstanding talent in cultivation and strong understanding. He created his own method of becoming an ascension, established a sect, and recruited many sects. Later, he became an immortal and ascended to the immortal world, leaving behind endless legends. All the monks who joined the Yuha sect worshipped him with admiration. After all, what kind of amazingly talented person can create the strongest immortal sect in the eastern region with one hand? The tablet enshrined in this ancient temple is a symbol of the spirit of the entire Yuha sect. Only true disciples and core elders are eligible to come and worship. According to rumors, if you have great luck, you may be taught by the founder of the sect, and you will be completely transformed and make rapid progress. Of course, no matter how miraculous it is, this tablet is about to receive a special baptism at this moment. Li Wuji unbuttoned his trousers and began to hiss at the memorial tablet on the ground. He is indeed a sword demon who has no taboos in his actions. He is the only one in history who dares to do such a hair-raising act. This is a great disrespect to the founder of the Yuha sect, and it is also a blasphemy to the spirit of the Yuha sect. Tick-tock. Small yellow water columns fell on the tablet, and there was a pungent smell of urine in the air. Fairyland. In a luxurious loft that is thousands of feet high. A young man wearing a large feather robe has his hands behind his back. His skin is smooth and his eyes are deep. If you don't look carefully, you would think it is a jade doll, but when he moves, thousands of stars are shining in his eyes. Damn it, that old fox surnamed Lu actually secretly arranged 10 supreme killing formations and successfully wiped out important troops of the extraterritorial coalition forces, causing heavy losses to many big worlds. The plan to capture the fairy world had to be suspended. The young man's fists were clenched tightly, his handsome face was twisted, and the scene of the destruction of the galaxy was reflected in his eyes. His whole body was filled with an aura of terror, and he growled, "Why? Why at this time?" In recent years, foreign races from outside the territory have frequently attacked the fairy world. He knew that the fairy world would be defeated sooner or later due to its background. He was clever and secretly found a backer to cooperate and sell information in exchange for benefits. As long as the immortal realm is captured, he will be able to reap huge rewards and have more room for development and a brighter future than he does now. Who would have imagined that the formation master sitting in the fairy world deliberately concealed important strategic information, and then quietly activated the 10 supreme killing formations, launching a perfect ambush against the alien coalition forces that penetrated deep into the hinterland. It is said that many of the enemy's immortal emperor-level warriors have fallen, which can be said to be heavy losses. The remaining alien coalition forces were too frightened to continue advancing and were forced to station outside the starry sky defense line and stare at the immortal world. This is the power of the formation. As a formation master, his strategic value is unmatched by many immortal emperors. As long as the timing is right, he can cause terrible lethality. It is precisely because of him that the fairy world continues to this day. Otherwise, it would have been carved up by the major worlds that are eyeing it. Hey, against all odds, I didn't expect that things would take a huge turn for the better. My whole life, I've been walking on thin ice. I really don't know if I can make it to the other side. The young man tried his best to calm down his anger, and sighed with a look of vicissitudes of life in his eyes. His name is Yu Washeng, and he also has an identity, that is, the founder of the Yuha sect. When Yu Washeng ascended to the immortal world at the end of the ancient times, he was full of energy and wanted to show off his talents. As a result, when he first arrived in the fairy world, he was taken to dig mines. He worked exhaustingly every day and was treated like an animal. At that time, Yu Washeng doubted life. Although he had imagined that the immortal world would be cruel and that true immortals were nothing, he never expected that it would be so humble. Later, after Yu Washeng completed 500 years of hard work, he began to venture out into the world, struggling all the way. With his extraordinary ability and luck, he indeed gained a lot and grew rapidly. He even used his super understanding to create an extremely evil technique called the demonic embryo transformation technique, which can swallow all things to strengthen his body and achieve the effect of a sharp increase in his cultivation level. From then on, he seemed to be assisted by a god, and his realm climbed crazily without limit. His hands were stained with countless blood, and he devoured endless resources of heaven and earth, causing many large states to be devastated and turned into lifeless places of death. Because Yu Hua was born and disappeared without a trace, he was very cautious every time he acted. In addition, he continued to disguise himself with false identities, resulting in many forces that wanted to investigate but they were unable to investigate. But considering the safety in the later stage, Yu Washeng worked hard and finally joined the largest force in the fairy world, Shanting. The Immortal Court is an official organization recognized by all parties in the immortal world and governs all important affairs in all parts of the immortal world. Any sect must report to the Immortal Court before it can be established, otherwise it will be regarded as an illegal industry with three no's and will be resolutely blocked and banned. Shanting is very strict in selecting talents, and it is also a test of ability if you want to be promoted. You know, the officials in the secular dynasty all have grades, let alone the officials in the fairy world. The immortal officials of the Immortal Court are divided into 10 levels, from the beginning to the end. They are Jia, Yi, Bing, Ding, Wu, Ji, Zhang, Xin, Ren, and Gui. As the saying goes, cultivating immortals is not about fighting and killing, but about human relationships and worldly affairs. Because of his superb talent, rapid improvement in strength, and his flawless work and ease of advancement and retreat, Yu Washeng rose rapidly in his official career and was highly appreciated. In this way, Yu Washeng secretly used the magic fetus transformation skill to devour the vitality of countless states and did unscrupulous things. On the surface, he was a high-ranking official of the Immortal Court, with high power and unlimited glory. During this period, the Immortal Court did notice it, and sent messengers to check the truth. Yu Washeng either used bribery to get away with it, or cultivated a scapegoat to protect himself from disasters. Anyway, the territory of the immortal world is vast and boundless, and the 5 major immortal domains also include hundreds of millions of states in total. What's the big deal about slaughtering millions of states? As long as his identity is not exposed, the location of swallowing is random, plus he is no longer the same as before, successfully cleaned up and landed, it will be much easier to deal with the pursuit of the Immortal Court. Time flies, and the white horse passes by. Today, Yu Washeng is a Class B immortal official, which can be said to be a high-level immortal court, holding great power. He is known as Yu Xian Zun to the outside world, and is admired by hundreds of millions of creatures. He should have been proud of himself, but he encountered a great disaster in the immortal world, that is, the attack of foreign aliens. Anyone who knows the origin of the immortal world and Kunlun world, as well as the grievances between Juyu and Shenting, knows very well what position the immortal world occupies in the universe. The immortal world is prosperous on the surface, but in the face of the real trend, all the glory will turn into nothing. As strong as the Kunlun world in its heyday, it was destroyed back then. Yu Washeng doesn't think that the immortal world, which is only superficial, can successfully hold on to the end. Therefore, Yu Washeng had a crooked mind, looking for a way out for himself, and secretly sold intelligence to the enemy using his power. Not only to preserve himself and pave the way for the future, there is another most important factor, that is, the magic fetus transformation skill he practiced. As he reached the realm of the immortal venerable, his appetite became bigger and bigger, and it was difficult to make any progress. Yu Washeng, who was eager to break through the immortal emperor, wanted to use the knife of the alien coalition to continuously weaken the power of the immortal realm. When there was no strong man in the immortal realm to check and balance him, Yu Washeng could willfully use the magic fetus transformation skill to devour the resources of the heaven and earth in the immortal realm, and even devour the entire immortal realm. If he could really do this, let alone break through the level of the immortal emperor, even the realm above the immortal emperor would be fine. With this ambition in mind, Yu Washeng secretly hid in the immortal court and planned his own great cause. Unexpectedly, the formation master Lu Wangshu once again performed a tricky operation, forcing the pace of the alien coalition's invasion to stop. This is not the most dangerous thing. The other party deliberately opened the killing formation quietly this time to prevent the news from leaking, so he must have noticed that there were spies in the high-level immortal court. Yu Washeng was terrified when he thought about it. He might expose his identity. This damn old fox. Thinking of this, Yu Washeng cursed again, and his calm mood became anxious again. I wonder how things are going in Yuha sect in the lower world. If it goes well, it can be regarded as leaving a way out. Yu Washeng's eyes flickered and his brows frowned. For some reason, he was always uneasy just now. He thought it was because of the war, but later he counted with his fingers and found that the source came from Yuha sect. Could it be that even his Taoist lineage in the lower world was in demise? It shouldn't be. In theory, as long as the Stargate is opened and the Hades army is allowed to invade, it can easily dominate the East region. Not to mention the East region, even Kunlun realm can be occupied, right? With the group of cultivators in Kunlun realm, how can they resist the Hades army that started from immortals? But now, why is he feeling uneasy again? After much thought, Yu Washeng decided to use the spiritual imprint left on the tablet to remotely check the situation of Yu Amen. Let me see, what is going on? Yu Huasheng began to make a mental connection with the tablet far away, which simply means turning on the visual sharing function. Swish, the world was spinning. The surroundings were familiar with the ancient temple environment. Why am I on the ground? Wait, who is this man? Why don't I have any impression of him? Hey, why are you taking off your pants? Put them on quickly. What are you going to do to my tablet, you beast? My eyes, Yu Huasheng collapsed instantly, making a sharp explosion, watching the middle-aged man in front of him wearing a bamboo hat and dressed as a swordsman in the rivers and lakes, untied his belt with a leisurely look on his face, and urinated on his face. Chapter 224. C224 You are jealous of my size. Yu Huasheng never thought that after living for so many years and having seen all kinds of storms, he would actually encounter such a shameless and immoral thing. Is this a devil? Do I have a grudge against you? Why do you treat me like this? Especially seeing the big baby who is also a man up close, Yu Huasheng felt that his eyes were hit by billions of times, which was very eye-catching. Why do you pee on my tablet? I don't believe that the monks of Yuha sect would do such a ridiculous thing to the tablet of the ancestor, so there is only one possibility: this person is an alien invader. He can appear in the ancient temple with a swagger and do such a crazy thing. Doesn't Yuha sect have any younger generation to take care of it? Could it be that they are all dead? Seeing the first-person perspective of the tablet, Yuha was so angry that he was shaking all over. He thought that as he achieved the position of Immortal Venerable, he would no longer feel humiliated. Who would have thought that reality would give him a loud slap in the face? The other party's bad behavior has caused serious damage to his body and mind, which is tantamount to shitting on his head. Hateful, too hateful. Who is this guy? No, I must activate the spiritual imprint. No matter how much it costs, I must show my spirit once to find out the truth, and then kill this daring guy. Having made up his mind, Yu Huasheng's face was murderous, his hands changed complex handprints, and his body was filled with energy fluctuations of the immortal level. Rumble. The sky outside was eclipsed, as if the sky was about to fall. What's going on? The disciples and elders of Yu Hua Dao Palace all looked at the attic with horror, wondering why the headmaster was so angry. Speaking of their headmaster, that is the famous Yu Hua Xianzun, and he is also a Class B immortal official of the Immortal Court. It can be said that he holds great power and is well known and famous in the entire immortal world. But now, it's like a broken defense, which is really confusing. Kunlun Realm, East Region, Yuhuaman Ancient Temple. Li Wuji was releasing a stream of water dragon pillars to baptize the tablet on the ground. Haha, old man, tell Master Li how it feels. Are you dumb? Why don't you say anything? Bah, those idiots in Yuhuaman treat you as a treasure, but in my eyes, you are just a piece of rotten wood. After cursing, Li Wuji felt that all the pores on his body were stretched, and he felt refreshed and almost flew. What he hated most was traitors, and Yuhuaman stabbing in the back was an unforgivable sin. He even regarded the founder of Yuhuaman as the leader of the traitors. At this moment, the tablet suddenly vibrated and burst into a dazzling light. Swish, a visible spirit emerged. The spirit was a young man in a feather robe, with a handsome face full of anger. He roared at Li Wuji emotionally. Fuck you, what did you do to my tablet? Seeing this sudden scene, Li Wuji was so scared that he quickly put on his pants and stepped back a few steps. His eyeballs almost popped out, and he subconsciously said, fuck. He didn't expect that a figure would emerge from this rotten wood. Could this person be the founder of Yuha sect? Thinking of this, Li Wuji felt cold on his back and his heart was beating wildly. All the cultivators in the East region have heard of the legend of the founder of Yuha sect. He was a legendary monster in the ancient times. As a result, he really appeared in front of him. Then what he did just now, wasn't it that the other party saw it all? Hiss, it's a bit embarrassing. Wait, Master Li, I should feel honored. Seeing how angry he was, it was probably because the thing was very small. After thinking about it, Li Wuji suppressed his panic and said righteously. Old man, don't scream at me. I just peed on your tablet, what's wrong? If you don't accept it, hold it in. Crazy, very crazy, he didn't look guilty at all. Yuha was so angry that his nose was crooked. Are the younger generations so uncultured these days? It seems that the atmosphere in the cultivation world of the East region is worrying. Tell me, who are you? Where are the cultivators of my Yuha sect? Yu Huasheng asked sternly. Ha ha ha, your Yuha sect's plan was exposed and boycotted by the entire East region. Now all the powerful people have been killed. The Taoism you left behind no longer exists. Li Wuji laughed wildly on the surface, but actually held the hilt of the knife and waited for the opportunity. What? Yu Huasheng seemed to be struck by lightning, with disbelief on his face. The thing he was most worried about finally happened. How is it possible? Could it be that those rubbish didn't open the Star Gate? That's why they were destroyed by the monks of the East region. Yu Huasheng thought a lot for a while and felt that this situation was the most likely. No, those old guys did open the Star Gate, and hundreds of thousands of immortals came out at once. What a scene, tut-tut. Li Wuji shook his head. Hearing this, Yu Huasheng was even more confused. Hundreds of thousands of immortals couldn't take over the East region. Are you kidding me? Even in his time, it was enough to sweep across the Kunlun realm. Impossible. If that's the case, how could my Yuha sect be defeated? Just relying on you ants, can you resist hundreds of thousands of immortals? Don't try to fool me. Yu Huasheng sneered. Li Wuji sneered, leaned back, and pointed his nose at the young man. You know shit. That's because my master took action. He slaughtered hundreds of thousands of immortals by himself. Are you afraid? Hiss. Yu Huasheng took a deep breath. Who is the master this guy is talking about? Can he do this in this backward cultivation environment? It's really amazing. Even though Yu Huasheng is now a fairy master, he can kill tens of millions of low-level immortals with just a breath. But speaking of the facts, when he didn't ascend to heaven, he was definitely much weaker than the other master in terms of strength, and he couldn't do such an outrageous record of killing enemies. That's right, this is an existence that is more evil than him. With such a terrifying combat power and growth potential, if he could rise straight up with the help of the east wind of the Kunlun world's revival, wouldn't it be? Yu Huasheng thought about it carefully and was terrified, with a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. Your master has offended the person he should not offend in this life. Li Wuji sneered. My master's cultivation is unparalleled, and he has never been afraid of anyone. And you are worthy of being called a human. Colluding with aliens to harm compatriots, the upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked, bah. Your Taoism is destroyed, you really deserve it. Yu Hua was so angry that his eyes were spitting fire. I am the dignified Yu Hua Shanzun, who has dominated the fairy world for many years and holds an important position in the fairy court. Many strong people have to be respectful when they meet him. Now in this lower world, he is insulted by an ant. Then I will kill you. I will find an opportunity to kill him in the future. Yu Huasheng roared. He spent a huge amount of immortal power to manifest his spirit, which was very difficult, so this spirit body was only at the level of a true immortal, and it was still incomplete, but it was easy to kill a person in the tribulation realm with a slap. Boom! This spirit body burst out with the momentum of an immortal, and the entire ancient temple was shattered in an instant. Li Wuji's heart was shocked, and he was sweating profusely. He secretly said, damn, I'm not going to lose my life here, am I? Although it was very fun to talk nonsense, but if he really fought with an immortal, he would definitely be crushed to death. Go to hell, you are a vulgar person with no quality and bad morals. Yu Huasheng roared, and raised his hand to slap him fiercely. Damn it, I will fight you. Li Wuji gritted his teeth, his eyes quickly turned red, and he was about to open the crazy bloodline to fight to the death. Swish! Suddenly, a bright sword light flew over like a streak of silk, interrupting Yu Huasheng's moves. Who is it? Yu Huasheng was shocked and angry. He didn't expect that an immortal would stop him with a sword. Could it be the master mentioned by the other party? Brother Li, what happened? Shui Wuan, wearing a spotless white robe, stepped into the air with a sword in his hand, like a banished immortal, and asked in a serious tone. Even though Li Wuji has not yet become an immortal, he is the disciple of Senior Yi, so Shui Wuan has no intention of despising him and is willing to call him Brother Li. Although he is a sword fanatic, he still knows this bit of human relations. After all, cultivating immortals does not rely entirely on fighting and killing to maintain. It is always good to get closer to people around Senior Yi. According to the famous saying circulating in Guangzhou, those who understand will understand. You have to be careful, this is the founder of Yuha sect. This old guy just appeared on this tablet. Because he is jealous of my size, he wants to attack me. Li Wuji said indignantly. Yu Huasheng's eyes almost turned black, and he was about to go crazy on the spot. Does this person still have any shame? Shui Wuan frowned, staring at this spirit with narrowed eyes. So you are the founder of Yuha sect. He had heard of his deeds and knew his weight in the ancient times. He used to respect him, but now the filter was broken. For this biggest traitor, he only had contempt and disgust in his heart. Yu Huasheng sneered. Young man, don't be too arrogant, leave yourself a way out. It's okay to tell you, I am Yuha Immortal Venerable. When you ascend to the fairyland in the future, I can give you the opportunity to follow me and let you become at least the fairy king level. But in return, you kill him for me. Hearing this, Shui Wuan snorted without thinking. I only admire Senior Yi in my life, no one else is worthy of my following. You are just an immortal venerable, are you worthy? Well said. Li Wuji gave a thumbs up, and then added to Yu Washeng, the Senior Yi he is talking about is my master. Huh, Yu Washeng widened his eyes, and found it unbelievable. I am an immortal venerable. Immortal venerable. Why don't you come to lick my ass? What's going on? When did the lower world get so swollen that even the immortal venerable is not qualified to accept a younger brother? What kind of person is that surnamed Yi, who can have such a heaven-defying charm? Wait, is he a reincarnated immortal emperor? Chapter 225. C225 Li Wuji. Fortunately, I didn't reveal the truth. You must know that with his status in the immortal world, even a casual word can make countless immortals swear allegiance to him, the kind of person who is going to be devastated. As a result, at this point, he is still no match for a junior from the lower realm. This made Yu Washeng couldn't help but suspect that the other party might really have a great background, otherwise how could he have such extraordinary strength in such a harsh environment? It's really not as good as God. Who knows that there will be monsters more terrifying than him born in the future? HMPH, I am a second-level immortal official in the immortal court. The monks in the lower world should also be under my control. Let the man named Yi come out to see me now, otherwise you will be responsible for the consequences. Yu Washeng brushed his sleeves and said coldly and with full authority that he planned to use another method to force the other party to show up, so that he could see some clues and make preparations in advance. This, Shui Wuan frowned. Could it be that the founder of the Yuha sect has a great background in the fairy world? If this is the case, then they have destroyed other people's orthodoxy, and it will be very dangerous if the other party wants to retaliate in the future. A second-level immortal official in the immortal courtyard. What the hell is this? Li Wuji said scornfully. Let my master come out to see you. Where do you get your face? A small official with the size of a sesame dares to show off. If you dare to show your true body, let's see if my master doesn't kill you. Quote. According to his thinking, as long as the master is around, there is nothing to be afraid of. You, what did you say? Yu Washeng suspected that his ears had misheard, and his expression was uglier than eating shit. A second-level immortal official is a small official the size of a sesame seed. You have such a strong tone. As for revealing his true form, if the Ascension Passage hadn't been destroyed, he would have made the trip himself with his temper, and he wouldn't have needed to be humiliated here. Shui Wuan said in a deep voice. Senior Yi is resting, no unimportant people are allowed to disturb you. If you want to cause trouble, Shui will stay with you until the end. As he said that, Shui Wuan's eyes flashed with cold light, and the long sword in his hand started to move and he was about to hand out the sword. Hateful, Yu Huasheng knew that with this spirit body, he couldn't get any advantage at all. He looked around at the devastated Yu Huaman, feeling very angry and unable to vent. There is no way, who makes him unlucky? In anger, Yu Washeng looked at the two men and said harsh words, remember, I am not done with you. From now on, either you will go up to the fairy world and be killed by me, or I will take the initiative to come down and kill you. Especially you, if you dare to be so disrespectful to my tablet, I guarantee you will die in an ugly way. Yu Washeng pointed at Li Wuji and said fiercely with a ferocious face. At this point, all I can do is say some threatening words, just to satisfy my cravings. Why are you like this? You're still not satisfied after seeing my big treasure. You're really repaying kindness with hatred. Li Wuji shook his head and sighed. Hear the words. Yu Washeng was stunned, and then remembered the ice-searing scene just now. The muscles in the corners of his eyes twitched wildly, and he had the urge to vomit blood. He has never seen such a shameless person in his life. Go to hell, Yu Washeng roared, desperately swooping over to tear the man in the hat into pieces. Aha! Seeing this, Shui Wuan, who was always on guard, decisively held out the sword. The bright sword light tore through the void like a divine rainbow, hitting the angry Yu Washeng. Bang! The explosion of the spirit body sounded. In the air, there was the scream of Yu Washeng before disappearing, and then it fell into silence soon. HMPH, I don't know what to do. Shui Wuan snorted coldly, holding the sword and sheathing it in a cool and elegant manner. Ah ha ha ha, thank you so much for Brother Shui's help now. I welcome you to come to Xuantian sect as a guest if you have time. Li Wuji laughed boldly and patted the man in white on the shoulder with a very enthusiastic attitude. As someone who is in the tribulation realm, it is a rare and strange thing in the world to call the sword immortal a brother. Shui Wuan didn't care about this bit of etiquette, but felt that Senior Yi's third disciple was very real. Etc. Shui Wuan suddenly thought of something, raised his eyebrows, and looked at Li Wuji suspiciously. Speaking of which, you are very similar to an old friend I know. Li Wuji's words, deeds, and handling style reminded Shui Wuan of a strange woman he had favored before. It was that unique muscular Lolita during the final trial on Immortal Island. Ah, Li Wuji's heart skipped a beat, and he seemed to remember something. He retracted his big hand as if he was electrocuted, and said with a reserved smile, "Hey, isn't this a coincidence?" "See this." Shui Wuan frowned and muttered, "It's quite a coincidence." A trace of cold sweat broke out on Li Wuji's forehead. He didn't want to be recognized by the other party, otherwise it would be more uncomfortable than killing him. If this kind of thing were to be exposed, it would be extremely social death. Just thinking about it would make my toes pull out of the palace in embarrassment. Damn, there are so many similar people in this world. In fact, I think Brother Shui is also very similar to my old friend I knew before. To tell you the truth, when I first met you, I felt like I was too late to meet you. Fate, what a fate, Li Wuji said with sincerity. Oh, Shui Wuan nodded, it seems like fate. In fact, I also admire Brother Li's obsession with the way of the sword. It is similar to my attitude towards the way of the sword. Haha, that's right, you can come to me for a drink some other time and let's have a good chat. After saying that, Li Wuji slapped his head. Oh, look at my memory. I have to report what happened just now to my master. Brother Shui, you can do whatever you want, I'll leave first. Farewell. After saying this, Li Wuji fled the scene as if he was a thief with a guilty conscience. Looking at the disappearing back, Shui Wuan always felt that something was wrong. Thinking about it, the muscular lowly figure in his mind gradually showed signs of overlapping with the other party, which frightened Shui Wuan and shook his head quickly, ruthlessly cutting off this idea. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Brother Li is right, there are similar people in this world, I must have been reminded of her again by the scene, alas. Shui Wuan put his hands behind his back, snowflakes floated around him, his eyes revealed a sense of longing, and murmured, I don't know, are you doing well now? Fairyland. In the Yuha Dao Palace. In the most luxurious attic, there was a young man in a feather robe with a distorted face and smoke coming out of his 7 orifices. Just an ant, how dare you do this to me? Ah! Yu Huasheng roared, and a terrifying breath burst out from his body. The sky outside rumbled, the wind and thunder were mighty, and countless people were frightened and knelt on the ground. What happened? How could an immortal be so angry? At the same time, after the Yuha sect was destroyed, the cultivators stood on the ruins and cheered, feeling a sense of revenge in their hearts. Among them, Princess Mingyu, who was wearing a purple dress and had a charming figure, had crystal tears in her beautiful eyes and 2 lines of tears on her face. She looked up at the sky and choked up. Father, mother, elder brother and second brother, did you see it? The culprits who persecuted you have all been killed. Zhao Linger patted her on the back and comforted her, the living should live well. Well, I will, Princess Mingyu said to Zhao Linger. Speaking of which, if you hadn't taken me that day, I would have been rejected by Xuantian sect. Linger, you are the best sister in my life. Zhao Linger was quite touched, picked up the handkerchief to wipe her tears, and joked, don't cry, crying is not good looking, to be my good sister, there is a requirement for appearance. Princess Mingyu burst into laughter, and then said with reluctance, during this period, I am very grateful to Xuantian sect for taking me in and helping me through the difficulties. Now the Pure Land Kingdom is in ruins, I have to go back to take charge of the overall situation, and the chances of meeting will become less in the future. Zhao Linger smiled and said, it's okay, I will visit you when I have time. When I go, please take me to visit the Pure Land Kingdom. I also want to experience the local customs and practices over there. Okay, Princess Mingyu nodded. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail. 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 226. C226 Never roll inward. Lie flat firmly. During the journey back, when approaching Xuantian sect, Yi Junlin moved on the chair. He reached out and took off his blindfold, his face full of contentment. The quality of my sleep this time was really good, and it seemed to be related to putting in too much effort. Master, my disciple has something important to report. Seeing that the young man finally woke up, Li Wuji hurriedly ran over and said with a serious expression on his face. I'm listening, tell me. Yi Junlin noticed a silver-haired Lolita lying in his arms. It turned out to be Bai Xiaoxi sleeping on top of him. Yi Junlin smiled and reached out to touch her head. The latter then slowly woke up, looking sleepy. Li Wuji looked at Bai Xiaoxi with envy in his heart. I really envy senior sister Bai for being treated like this. She also wants to rest in master's arms. If Yi Junlin knew this idea, he would probably be kicked out. She is a white-haired Lolita. What are you? Without a mirror, there would always be peeing, right? Ahem. Li Wuji pretended to cough a few times and said in a deep voice, I met the founder of the Yuha sect before in the ancient temple of the Yuha sect. He claimed to be the legendary Yuha Immortal Lord and a second-level Immortal official in the Immortal Courtyard. It sounds like he is quite capable in the fairy world, and he finally said harsh words that he will kill us sooner or later. Oh, Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. Unexpectedly, the founder of the Yuha sect has been quite successful in the fairy world, and he can come to the lower world to give lectures on success. Immortal Lord, tisk tisk. Yi Junlin was not afraid, but had a strong expectation. If this kind of experience package were delivered to his door, he would have to accept it with tears. Little did he know that this expression in Li Wuji's eyes shocked his heart and made his head buzz. Before, he was just talking about it, so he had no worries. In fact, he knew that the immortal realm was already a very powerful existence, and he never thought that his master could compare with it. But now, combined with his past experiences and the other party's reaction that was beyond his expectation, Li Wuji made a bold guess in his heart. It seems that the master is really capable of suppressing the feathered immortal lord, that's why he looks so eager to try. Could it be that master is the reincarnation of the legendary immortal emperor? Or if you are bolder, master may be the immortal emperor now. Li Wuji was thinking crazily, and the image in his mind was getting higher and higher. He could see that the master didn't take Yu Wansheng's threat seriously at all. Thinking of this, Li Wuji straightened his waist a little, and he felt in his heart that my master was indeed invincible. Yi Junlin didn't know that in the mind of this third disciple, he had been imagined as a terrifying existence suspected of being an immortal emperor. Even if you know, you can at most just laugh it off. What about the immortal emperor? Even if the Kunlun realm's 4 ultimates were above the immortal emperor, if they dared to attack him, there would be a 5th ultimate in every minute. So, does it matter whether you are an immortal emperor or not? By the way, is there something wrong with the ascension passage in the fairy world? Until now, I haven't felt any signs of ascension. Yi Junlin thought about something and thought to himself. I thought that the ascension passage was destroyed by aliens, and people from the fairy world could not come here directly. Otherwise, the founder of the Yuha sect will definitely come to cause trouble as soon as possible. That's all, I've always been casual about upgrading. If there is, there is, and if there is, there is not. Cultivation is impossible. It is impossible to practice in this life. You can only live by relying on other people's cultivation. Yi Junlin shrugged, his expression indifferent. In his previous life, he experienced a highly involuted social environment. After time traveling, he said that it would be impossible for him to get involved. He just wanted to lie down. Xiao Li, if nothing happens, just step back. Yes. Li Wuji's mind was filled with random thoughts, so he suppressed the excitement in his heart and left first. Xiao Shi, my teacher, I want to eat sweet-scented osmanthus cake. Okay, Shu Shu will do it for you. Hearing this, Bai Xiaoxi cheered up and ran to the workbench excitedly with her short legs. As long as it is master's request, she will satisfy it unconditionally. At this time, Li Wuji, who had retreated, walked swaggeringly on the green path. Seeing Hong Chenny meditating on the locust tree, Li Wuji went over and stood under the tree and coughed a few times, ahem. Seeing that the other party didn't respond, Li Wuji continued to cough without giving up. The coughs became louder and more exaggerated each time, as if he was going to cough out his lungs. Cough cough cough, cough cough cough, cough 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 cough. I heard a violent coughing sound in my ears. The veins on Hong Chenny's forehead were exposed, and she had murderous intentions in her heart. Her beautiful red phoenix eyes opened suddenly, and her eyes were full of anger, and she said in a cold voice. If you dare to make such noise again, I will tear out your vocal cords. Hearing this, Li Wuji stopped coughing and looked a little embarrassed. Senior brother Hong, you are finally willing to pay attention to me. Hong Chiba was so angry that her nose was crooked. No, there is something wrong with this person, right? You have something to say. Seeing Hong Chenyi's expression becoming more and more ugly, Li Wuj hurriedly said, "What, I know you are anxious, but don't be anxious yet, I have some important news to tell you. By the way, do you want to hear it? Hong Chenyi. Labor and management really want to lift your Tianling lid to see if it is filled with excrement. You came to me and coughed for a long time, and finally you said this." Hong Chenyi really doubted whether this guy was here to cause trouble on purpose. If so, he would have to take action. "Just tell me, you bastard." Hong Chenyi gritted his teeth. Li Wuji lowered his voice and said, "Guess what I found out? I found out that you are a fool. Can you tell me the point?" Hong Chenyi couldn't help it and pointed at the man in the bamboo hat below and cursed. Okay, my fault." Li Wuji didn't want to keep it a secret and said in a deep voice, "I believe you have also noticed that Master's cultivation seems to be endless. He becomes stronger when he meets a strong opponent. There is no limit at all. His true cultivation is still a mystery." "You mean?" Hong Chenyi narrowed his eyes, and a gleam of brilliance flashed in his eyes. "Let me tell you, Master's true identity is actually an immortal emperor," Li Wuji said confidently. Hong Chenyi's expression was instantly dull. "Immortal emperor? You said the one with the surname Yi is an immortal emperor?" Hong Chenyi really couldn't think of this statement, or strictly speaking, he didn't dare to imagine such a possibility. Because it was too shocking. "You'd better give a reasonable basis, otherwise you will have to pay the price for your stupid behavior just now." Hong Chenyi stared at the man in the bamboo hat and said coldly. Li Wuji had expected to be questioned, and said calmly. "Just now I reported to him about the founder of Yuha sect. Regarding the Yuha immortal venerable's constant talk of revenge, Master was not panicked at all, and even looked forward to it. Do you think this is a normal reaction? Only those who are fearless and have reached the point of being able to crush the enemy will not care about the threat of the enemy, right? You know, the founder of Yuha sect is an immortal from the fairy world. He said he wanted to take revenge. Who in the whole Kunlun world is not afraid? But I didn't see any panic on Master's face. Combining with the previous experiences, I dare to conclude that Master is very likely to be an immortal emperor." Hearing this analysis, Hong Chenyi's brain crashed. Is this true? He wanted to refute this view, but was horrified to find that he seemed to have no basis for rebuttal. Could it be that, as the other party said, the man surnamed Yi was really an immortal emperor? Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail. 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 227. C227 Rumors stop at the Y's. Immortal Emperor, that is the Immortal Emperor. The weight of these two words is too heavy. I had only seen descriptions of the Immortal Emperor in ancient books before, and I never dared to imagine that I would see such a mythical existence one day. Now, someone actually told him that the Immortal Emperor was actually by his side. Hong Chenyi's inner shock could not be described in words. It was so sudden. How's it going? Is this news exciting enough? Li Wuji chuckled, with a wise light shining in his eyes. I still don't believe that there is an Immortal Emperor in this world. Logically speaking, the level of Immortal Emperor can only be found in the immortal world. If he is really an Immortal Emperor, why does he stay here? Hong Chenyi said in a deep voice. Li Wuji rubbed his chin and used his imagination. Is there a possibility that Kunlun realm used to be very powerful, and the cultivation environment was no worse than that of the immortal realm? Otherwise, why would the Nether clan try every possible means to invade? Combined with the recent revival of heaven and earth, you taste it carefully. Hong Chenyi was stunned. It seemed to make some sense. The Nether clan dispatched hundreds of thousands of immortals to capture the Kunlun realm. Doesn't this just show the huge value contained in the Kunlun realm? It seems that I have been led astray by my past perceptions. I still think that the Kunlun world has always been very backward. In fact, it was unimaginably brilliant a long time ago. Later, I don't know what disasters I experienced, and the whole world began to decline. According to this background, it is really possible for the Immortal Emperor to exist in the Kunlun realm. The reason why I didn't come out before was because my living environment was restricted. Now I come out to move around to adapt to the laws of heaven and earth. Thinking of the man named Yi who has emerged in the past 2 years, and then became invincible and powerful in all directions. In addition, he has a rather outrageous work style, as well as the rare treasures he constantly brings out, and the supreme gifts he bestows on his disciples. Kung Fu. Red Chiba's forehead was dripping with sweat, and she was extremely frightened as she thought about it, feeling that she had vaguely touched the truth. Maybe that guy is really an immortal emperor who survives to this day. Senior brother Hong, you should believe me now. Li Wuji was a little proud, and his heart was full of pride and pride. He is the disciple accepted by the immortal emperor. Who can compare? Humph, so what if I believe it? Hong Chenny said impatiently. Remember, if you have something to say in the future, just say it directly and don't keep it secret. Oh, Li Wuji said angrily, then turned and left. On the canopy of the tree, Hong Chenny continued to think divergently, her eyes changing constantly, and she thought deeply and said. According to this point of view, are there any special beings like him in the Kunlun world? It's just that they haven't appeared yet. If they really appear one after another, the Kunlun world will inevitably be reshuffled. After Kunpeng returned to Xuantian sect, he received warm cheers. Everyone felt incredible after learning the cause and effect. Fortunately, everything has settled. In the past few days, there have been a lot of rumors in the 14 states of the eastern region about Yi Junline's suppression of the Nether Clan army. Have you heard? Senior Yi single-handedly killed hundreds of thousands of immortals, cut off the ancient road in the starry sky, and saved the entire Kunlun world. It's fake, right? Didn't you say that 8 million immortals invaded the eastern territory and were all killed by Senior Yi? The alien races outside the territory were so frightened that they took the initiative to close the Star Gate. What? Only 8 million immortals? It must be 60 million immortals. My friend was in the Eastern Territory Alliance army at the time. He told me personally after he came back. Haha, your friend is deceiving you. In fact, the truth is that billions of extraterrestrial immortals invaded. Don't ask, I'll be there if you ask. What, a billion? Isn't it a bit? Huh, what's your attitude? Are you questioning Senior Yi's lack of strength? No, I believe it. I really believe it. Please, this fellow Taoist, please put down the magic weapon. I am afraid of you facing me. Pass it on. Senior Yi destroyed a billion immortals from outside the realm with one sword. Protect the peace of my Kunlun realm for thousands of generations. The entire eastern region is hotly debated, various versions are circulating, and rumors are flying everywhere. During this period, anyone who dared to underestimate the number of enemies killed by Yi Junline would be attacked immediately. So from the initial few 100,000 to the last billion, the evolution of public opinion can be said to be quite magical. There was even the most authoritative newspaper in the world of cultivation that went out of its way to verify Shui Wuan, the white-robed swordsman of the Xuanji sword sect, and asked whether Senior Yi had personally slaughtered as many as 1 billion outsiders as per the rumors. Faced with the question, Shui Wuan was silent for a few minutes, and finally nodded heavily and said solemnly, yes, Senior Yi did kill 1 billion extraterrestrial true immortals. I saw this with my own eyes. If anyone has any objections, you can ask me about my sword. Everyone in the cultivation world knows that we sword cultivators are the least able to lie. When the newspaper published the original words, the whole world was silent and silent. Soon, the outside world seemed to be in a panic. Everyone supported Shui Wuan and agreed with his statement. Yes, I agree with both hands and feet. I don't know why there are still people who question Senior Yi's record. I really don't understand. Haha, true fans have never doubted it. Me too. In this way, Senior Yi's statement about killing 1 billion extraterrestrial true immortals was finally concluded. Immortal Island. The creatures in the courtyard are talking. Everyone, the new island owner seems to be different from what we thought. I thought he couldn't stop the attack of the underworld, but he really defeated him. The little donkey said angrily, it seems that we underestimated him before. Cluck da. The old hen crowed excitedly and said in a proud tone, that's because you underestimated him, but I have never underestimated the new island owner. Come on, after the hundreds of thousands of true immortals from the Nether clan come in, I think you are so anxious that you want to force out and plan to help him. The little donkey said angrily. What do you know, you stupid donkey? Even if I really go out to help, it's just the icing on the cake. Anyway, I believe in the new island owner. The old hen said harshly. Son, someone just complimented me casually that you are so beautiful, and you were completely willing to work for him. You were once an immortal, but you are so worthless, said the little donkey with disdain. The old hen was furious and put on a fighting stance. What did you say, you stupid donkey? I don't think I'll teach you a lesson. Come, let's see how your donkey can stomp on your chicken head. The little donkey said viciously, raising its shiny black hoof, ready to go. Stop it, it's so inappropriate to fight. A cold and indifferent voice sounded in the courtyard, with an unquestionable meaning. The old hen and the little donkey were silent for a moment. The willow tree stood quietly, and the green willow branches were swaying in the wind, showing an invisible meaning. I want to remind you that since Immortal Island has changed its owner, don't call that person the new island owner. This is disrespectful. You must have a specific honorific title. Since his surname is Yi, just call him Island Master Yi. Miss Lu is right. All the creatures nodded. Especially you, stupid donkey, you have no trust in Yi Island Master and are suspicious, which is very bad. The cold voice contained a strong murderous intention at the end. The little donkey was so frightened that he was so cold that his teeth chattered. The terrifying figure appeared in his mind. He fell to his knees and cried bitterly to the willow tree. Miss Lu, you are wrong. I have absolutely no doubts about Lord Yi Island, and I am absolutely loyal to him. How sincere is the way you look at me. The little donkey begging for mercy looked very funny, making all living beings have the urge to laugh. Willow, get up, don't do it again. Yes, the little donkey stood up with lingering fear as if he had received an amnesty. Seeing the old hen's mocking gaze, he dared not speak in anger. You know, the willow tree dominates the courtyard. After all, the opponent had killed the immortals in ancient times and made the world turn upside down. With its abilities and qualifications, it was not even worthy of carrying shoes. To put it bluntly, if a wicker was pulled out, I might have to be reincarnated. Lu Shu, it is undeniable that we all underestimated Island Master Yi's strength. He is far more powerful than we imagined, and his qualifications are very evil. This also proves that Island Master Lu did not choose the wrong person. After all, what he will face in the future is not only external pressure, but also internal changes in the Kunlun world. Miss Lu, what do you mean? The old hen said solemnly. Yes, according to my inference, the Kunlun world is about to enter the next stage of recovery. The magnitude of this change will be particularly large, and it may even allow the birth of immortal king-level creatures. The old guys who insisted not to go to the immortal realm and wanted to sleep in the Kunlun realm until then will probably wake up one after another and come out to move around. Willow said in a deep voice. The old strong men in ancient times were all arrogant. The reason why they were unwilling to go to the immortal realm was because they were betting on the chance of turning around in the Kunlun realm. There were good and evil among them, and they all had their own positions. If these ancient immortals are born one after another, it will definitely have a huge impact on the current situation in the Kunlun world. It is estimated that before all the races in the starry sky arrive, the Kunlun realm will be in chaos. The creatures in the hospital were heavy-hearted and had a premonition that trouble was coming. Rumble. Suddenly, a terrifying muffled thunder sounded from deep in the sky. In the sky above Xuantian sect, large swaths of pitch-black clouds gathered crazily, and began to gather countless blazing and terrifying lightnings. What's wrong? The creatures in the courtyard asked in surprise. Lu Shu said calmly. There is no need to panic, there is someone out there who is about to overcome the tribulation and become an immortal. Chapter 228. C228 System. Get ready for the feast. As countless clouds of disaster gathered in the sky above Xuantian sect, the terrifying aura released frightened countless disciples and elders. Swish, swish, swish. The sect master and his men all appeared in a flash, their shocked eyes all cast towards Piaomiao Peak, focusing on the peerless red-dressed figure. Look, junior brother Yi's eldest disciple is about to pass the disaster and become an immortal. The beautiful face of the peak master of Tianxiang Peak was full of surprise. My goodness, that guy is the second most evildoer in the sect after junior brother Yi. I'm not surprised that he can pass the disaster and become an immortal. I've experienced his temper before, he's very arrogant. The peak master of Kangjian Peak said unhappily, thinking of the experience of being taught a lesson before. Sect master Shu Yunian said, no matter what, he is a member of our Xuantian sect. We should all be happy that he can overcome the tribulation and become an immortal. Sect master, you are open-minded. I think Hong Chenny is a big devil. If it weren't for junior brother Yi's pressure, he would have rebelled against our Xuantian sect long ago. Say less. He is about to overcome the thunder tribulation. Don't talk nonsense about things that haven't happened yet. It will be good for everyone to observe how he overcomes the thunder tribulation first. Yes, we have to take a closer look and try to understand something from the thunder tribulation. In the future, we will also overcome the tribulation and become immortals. That's right. On Piaomiao Peak, Li Wuji sighed helplessly. Oh, I didn't expect that I was still a step behind. He wanted to roll, but he couldn't win. Master, senior brother Hong is going to be struck by thunder. Bai Shaoxi pointed anxiously. Yi Junlin smiled and said, don't worry, you will face it in the future. This is called overcoming the tribulation and becoming an immortal. Bai Shaoxi's heart trembled, and she said weakly, will it hurt? Shushu is most afraid of pain. Yi Junlin touched the head of the silver-haired loli and said seriously, it's okay. It will hurt at first, but it will be comfortable. Really? Yeah. At the same time, facing the thunder tribulation brewing in the sky, Hong Chenny raised an evil arc at the corner of his mouth, and he had an unprecedented expectation in his heart. For him, it is not difficult to prove his immortality again. With the experience of the first time, the second time seems to be a natural thing. This seat will become an immortal again. Boom. As soon as the voice fell, countless lightning in the tribulation cloud turned into lightning pillars, falling down with great momentum. Come on. Hong Chenny was not afraid, and a raging flame burst out from his body, directly resisting the thunder tribulation above his head. Soon, the first thunderbolt disappeared, and the second, third, fourth, and fifth thunderbolts fell again. Boom boom boom, large groups of thunderbolts were annihilated one by one. In the eyes of everyone, Hong Chenny resisted the thunderbolt effortlessly, and the whole process seemed to be easy. Brother Hong is really good at it. Even Li Wuji was impressed by this scene and sighed. The scalp of the sect leader and others was numb. Brother Yi, the eldest disciple, was really scary. It was like a joke to go through the thunderbolt. It is recorded in ancient books that going through the thunderbolt is a matter of life and death. It turns out that it is to comfort the weak. Just when the 18th thunderbolt fell, Hong Chenny aimed at the sky and slapped his palm. A large flaming palm print was formed in the air, resisting this terrible thunderbolt. Bang! The thunderbolt exploded. Hong Chenny's mouth curved into a complacent arc, ready to calmly welcome his baptism of becoming an immortal. With his current strength, it is countless times easier than fighting against the thunder tribulation in the past. Come on, let me return to my previous position. Hong Chenny slowly opened his hands, and had already put on a pretentious posture in advance. Suddenly, rumble. After the 18th thunder disappeared, the thunder tribulation that should have dispersed continued. The vast lightning brewing in the tribulation cloud this time was more than 100 times more terrifying than before. What's going on? Why is there still? Hong Chenny was stunned and said in doubt. According to previous cognition, the thunder tribulation has a total of 18 thunders, and there will be no more after the thunder is struck. But now, it feels like the warm-up is over and the main show is about to begin. Swish! The 19th thunder struck. Hong Chenny's face changed, and he pinched his fingers to cast a spell to resist. The flames and lightning were entangled, forming a thrilling scene. After offsetting the lightning again, Hong Chenny did not feel any joy, but instead felt a strong sense of uneasiness in his heart. Because the heavenly tribulation above was still forming lightning. Then, the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. One after another, the terrifying lightning condensed and smashed down, and the power of each lightning was increasing crazily, becoming stronger and stronger. Hong Chenny went from being at ease at the beginning to gradually struggling, even extremely reluctantly. There were beads of sweat on his forehead, sweat slid down his fair cheeks, and he began to gasp. As the 54th lightning fell, the sky within a radius of 10,000 miles was bright. Break it for me! Hong Chenny exerted all his strength and roared. Boom! At this moment, the 54th lightning was extinguished. But Hong Chenny felt very uncomfortable, with strands of lightning wandering on his body, his face was gray, blood was flowing from the corners of his mouth, and he looked very embarrassed. Is this finally over? Everyone felt terrified. Why was this lightning tribulation different from what they recorded in ancient books? It was supposed to be 18 thunderbolts, but now there are 54. However, things did not go as planned. More terrifying thunder was brewing in the calamity cloud, and the whole world was eclipsed. The sun and moon were dim, and sand and rocks were flying. The oppressive and dull atmosphere spread in a radius of tens of millions of miles. Countless people's minds were seriously affected. They subconsciously looked up, and the fear in their bodies burst out like a flood. At this time, above Hong Chenny's head, a large group of unimaginable lightning intertwined and entangled, and even the color turned into black and white. Each lightning was enough to kill 99% of the calamity realm. Fuck, is it over yet? Hong Chenny's mentality broke and he shouted in collapse. In the courtyard of Yunxian Island, the willow tree was moved. I don't know if this person is lucky or unlucky. The thunder tribulation he passed was the most difficult 8 or 9 thunder tribulations, and it was also an extremely rare chaotic thunder. The difficulty is simply Even its temper didn't know what to say. The old hen was shocked. Since this kind of thunder tribulation can be produced, it means that the laws of heaven and earth in Kunlun realm have become perfect. In the past, there were only the simplest 29 thunder tribulations. Son, that junior will definitely die. I have never seen this kind of chaos level 89 thunder tribulations. Even people with the appearance of the immortal emperor may not have the opportunity to survive. The little donkey smacked his lips. Then, in the astonished eyes of everyone, a new wave of thunder tribulations fell down and struck Hong Chenny fiercely one by one. Master, is there a level of thunder tribulation? Why is the thunder tribulation that senior brother Hong and brother Shui survived so different? Li Wuji was frightened and asked hurriedly. The thunder tribulation that Shui Wuan survived was the regular 18 thunder tribulations. He still remembers it vividly. As a result, what he sees now is completely different from the previous level. If he is asked to survive this level of thunder tribulation, won't he be covered in bruises? Yi Junlin frowned. There was no knowledge in this area in his mind. But fortunately, he can ask the system for an answer. Tongzi, squeak, what's going on with my little Hong? Ding, it is detected that the host's eldest disciple is going through a special 8-9 thunder tribulation. The system prompt sounded. Oh, what is the 8-9 thunder tribulation? Yi Junlin asked curiously when he heard this new term. Ding, the thunder tribulation is divided into 4 levels, namely the 29 thunder tribulation, the 49 thunder tribulation, the 69 thunder tribulation, and the 8-9 thunder tribulation. Closing square bracket. The higher the level of the thunder tribulation, the higher the qualification and starting point after becoming an immortal. The probability of the 8-9 thunder tribulation is extremely low. There are a total of 72 heavenly thunders. As long as the tribulation is successfully passed, the benefits are unimaginable, not to mention that this is the 8-9 thunder tribulation containing the power of chaos, which is the strongest version. Closing square bracket. Hearing this, Yi Junlin sighed. So that's the case, then it's okay to get through it, this is a blessing. Good guy, if Hong Chenny heard it, his eyes would definitely turn black, he couldn't afford such a blessing. Ding, warm reminder, considering the current situation of the host's apprentice, we suggest you prepare for the feast, wish you a happy meal, the system prompt sounded again. Yi Junlin, Chapter 229. C229 The Experience of the Big Devil. Eating a feast, this is too sudden. Yi Junlin was about to refute the system, but was attracted by the tragic scene in front of him, and the whole person could not help but stand there in a daze. Boom boom. At this time, the 60th black and white thunder containing the power of chaos rushed down like an angry dragon, smashing into the blazing flame shield. The flame shield that was originally offered up instantly disappeared, and a bloody tall figure appeared, with lightning flashes wandering around, crackling. Cough cough cough. Hong Chenny's hair was disheveled, and blood kept coming out of his mouth. Looking at the vast lightning that was brewing again above his head, his beautiful phoenix eyes revealed a look of grief and anger. Damn God, how did I provoke you? Hong Chenny felt so aggrieved in his heart. He really didn't expect that the thunder tribulation he encountered would be so terrifying. Could it be that the world was revived, and the level of the thunder tribulation was also increased? If that's the case, then he's too unlucky. Let's not talk about how much benefit there is after surviving the thunder tribulation. The problem is that he's going to die. No matter how great the benefit is, it's useless. How many thunders are there after this? Can any kind-hearted person tell me? Hong Chenny cried out sadly with a dim look in his eyes. Zhao Hong, this is the highest level of 8 or 9 thunder tribulation. It will end after surviving 72 chaotic thunders. This is your unique fortune. You must hold on, otherwise your master and the entire sect will have a feast. Yi Junlin said with a serious face. What, 72? Hearing this, Hong Chenny staggered and almost fell to the ground. He covered his chest with a painful face and doubted his life. Now he has just passed the 60th thunder, and there are still 12 chaotic thunders behind. And the power is stronger than the other. In his current situation, how many can he still withstand? Master, can senior brother Hong survive? Why do I feel like it's too tough? Li Wuji couldn't bear to look directly at him, and said with a palpitating heart. Yi Junlin sighed and said, Hey, it's really dangerous. You should think about which side you are going to sit at the banquet. Li Wuji, Shushu really likes to eat delicious food, but Shushu wants senior brother Hong to survive more. Looking at the bruised figure, Bai Xiaoxi's big eyes were filled with tears, and she murmured. In the woods, a young man with a pot-covered head in a green shirt looked at the scene in the field, and his handsome face was full of solemnity. Although he practiced the Qingdi Cheng Shanggong, which could instantly heal Hong Chenyi's injuries, the matter of surviving the Thunder Tribulation is not a trivial matter. As long as someone chooses to intervene, the power of the Thunder Tribulation will surge, and the person who took action will be killed together. It only treats the symptoms but not the root cause. There is no solution. Next, in the eyes of everyone who couldn't bear to look directly at it, Hong Chenyi withstood one lightning bolt after another, from standing at first to half kneeling later, his body covered in blood, his breath getting weaker and weaker. Rumble. The 70th heavenly thunder gathered together, and the majestic murderous intent firmly locked Hong Chenyi. Feeling the power this time, which was much stronger than before, his will almost collapsed, and his face was pale. Is this life of mine going to end? Hong Chenyi said desperately. At this time, many pictures flashed through his mind, as if he was examining his own experience in person. In his childhood, he was a little beggar. In order to fill his stomach, he kowtowed and begged for food. Because he was too handsome, more beautiful than a girl, he had to make himself dirty. Since he was a beggar since he was a child, he was looked down upon and saw the dark side of the bottom of society. He understood the principle of the survival of the fittest early on. Until one time, he was unwilling to hand over the bread he got from begging, and was beaten and kicked by several young beggars who were stronger than him. After enduring the beating, he curled up helplessly in the corner, letting the cold wind cut through his skin like a knife. Hunger and pain destroyed his body and mind, and even the sound of crying was weak. At this time, a kind-looking old man appeared. The old man was a merchant selling supplies. Seeing that the young man was on the verge of death, he rescued him, gave him food and drink, spent money to let him change into clean clothes, and let him follow him as a servant. Hong Chenyi, who suffered a lot at the bottom, thought it was God's blessing. He finally didn't have to kowtow and beg, and he didn't have to go hungry every day. At least he could have enough food and clothing, and live with dignity and decency. In the days that followed, he helped the old man with his business affairs. He respected the old man very much, and regarded the old man as a benefactor in his heart. He decided to spend the rest of his life to take care of the old man. As a result, on a quiet night, the old man suddenly entered his room for no reason. His kind face looked a little strange under the candlelight. Hong Chenyi didn't think much about it, but asked what happened with concern. The old man sat on the bed and sighed, and began to talk about how lonely he was and how he often felt lonely. At the end of the rambling, the old man stood up and began to undress. At that time, Hong Chenyi suddenly woke up. The reason why the old man kindly took him in was because he had other plans. Faced with the old man's behavior, he resisted the nausea and refused sternly. He would repay the life-saving grace by subsequent work, and ask the old man to leave his house. He could pretend that nothing had happened. Who knew that the old man suddenly became furious? His kind face became twisted and fierce under the candlelight, and then rushed towards Hong Chenyi, intending to force him. In panic, the young Hong Chenyi fought back, picked up the candle and smashed it hard on the old man's head. The old man wailed and fell to the ground in pain. Looking at the young man in front of him who was trembling with anger and more beautiful than a girl, the frightened old man began to persuade him kindly. The general meaning was that he knew he was wrong and hoped that he could be let go and continue to live his previous life. But Hong Chenyi, who was deeply stimulated, would not listen to it. In his eyes, the kind old grandfather had died forever in his memory, replaced by a hypocritical and cunning old pervert. He was out of control, raised the candle and aimed it at the old man's head, smashing it again and again. The blood stained the ground red, the wailing gradually subsided. Looking at the old face full of fear, slowly losing blood color, Hong Chenyi only felt very ironic, laughed out loud. The laughter was full of sadness. After calming down, in order to avoid being investigated by the government, he quickly looted the old man's belongings and fled the scene. Later, when he counted the old man's house, he found an old secret book, which taught people how to guide the true qi into the body and become a qi training monk. From this, he concluded that the old man wanted to embark on the path of cultivation, but unfortunately he was not talented enough, so he was forced to make a living by buying and selling. According to the content of the secret book, Hong Chenyi tried to practice according to the steps. Unexpectedly, the qi was guided into the body very smoothly. From then on, he officially embarked on the path of cultivation. Because the dark life experience before had a great influence on his temperament, his code of conduct was linked to the style of the magic. Later, he experienced all kinds of intrigues, cruel fighting and plundering of resources, and gradually grew into a powerful magic giant. Even the fire-worshipping demon cult he founded had hundreds of millions of believers under his command, and its momentum in the central region was very huge. In its heyday, it was worshipped by all directions and had unlimited scenery. Unfortunately, the good times did not last long. As the fire-worship demon cult grew stronger and stronger, it violated the interests of the old forces in the central region. A crusade against him and the fire-worship demon cult began in a grand manner. Due to its shallow foundation, the fire-worship demon cult soon fell apart. Facing the siege of the Immortals, Hong Chenny had no choice but to use secret methods and disperse most of his cultivation just to exchange for a chance to escape. This is how he ended up in the East Region wasteland state. Boom! At this moment, the black and white thunder fell straight down like a waterfall, carrying a destructive and terrible breath. After reviewing his past experiences, Hong Chenny's gloomy eyes burst into brilliance, and his heart became particularly firm. He once vowed to stand on the top of the pyramid with his youthful expectations and overlook all living beings. Since God wants to destroy him, then go against God. At this moment, facing the terrifying lightning above his head, Hong Chenny gathered his strength and turned into a red meteor rising into the sky. His forehead was bulging with veins, his bloodshot eyes were glaring, and he looked up to the sky and let out a deafening roar. His voice contained infinite fighting spirit. My fate is in my own hands, not in the hands of God. Warm tips: if you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error or contact us at the bottom to let us know. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. Chapter 230, C230 Junline. I am very interested in Lei Jia. Boom! A large ball of lightning enveloped Hong Chenny. He gritted his teeth and used all his strength to resist with a strong desire to survive. When the terrifying lightning gradually dissipated and the dust settled, a miserable figure dripping with blood fell to the ground, covered in blood and flesh, with some white bones exposed, and hot smoke rising from the whole body. Hong Chenny lay weakly on the ground, looking up at the sky with difficulty, seeing the billions of black and white lightning that were still gathering, with a tragic smile on her lips. It was clear that he had reached his limit. If the 71st ray of lightning landed, Hong Chenny knew that he would definitely die. Ha ha ha! In this desperate situation of holding on to hope and being knocked back to the bottom, Hong Chenny couldn't help but burst into laughter. The laughter was full of self-deprecation and sadness. Everyone who witnessed the scene fell into silence. In this situation, they could do nothing but watch a peerless talent fall. The creatures in the hospital were shocked and impressed by Hong Chenny's strength and will. Even in the golden age of Kunlun realm, there are very few people who can survive the 89th Thunder Tribulation. What's more, this is the 89th Thunder Tribulation at the Chaos level, and the existence of the Immortal Emperor is not necessarily possible. I can get through it. Being able to push through to the 70th stage, no matter their experience and eyesight, they were all amazed at Hong Chenny's feat at this moment. This guy is so scary. Here, it turns out he is a man. I thought some female figure was so extraordinary and had the potential to be the Empress Fuyao back then. The little donkey smacked his tongue. You stupid donkey, is this the point? The old hen rolled her eyes, looked at the figure whose body was almost collapsed and dripping with blood, and sighed. It's a pity that his talent is so outstanding, and his future achievements should be limitless, but he was unlucky enough to encounter such a top-notch lightning disaster. It would be a miracle if he didn't die. Yes, it's a pity. Other creatures expressed regret. Under the Chaos Level 89 Thunder Tribulations, the only ones who have been able to survive so far are the original four masters of Kunlun Realm, namely Dishan, Empress Fuyao, Cheng Shengguang, and Luan. And the four of them later grew to be above the Immortal Emperor. As for the rest of the monsters who triggered this thunder disaster, their bodies were eventually annihilated, their souls were scattered, and they disappeared into the long river of history. After all, the world only remembers those who succeed. Hey, Willow sighed softly. From ancient times to the present, how many monks seeking immortality have died on this long road to immortality? Only God knows. Do you really want to? At this moment, Li Wuji's eyes were full of tears, his lips trembled a few times, and he struggled to say two words, eating. Although he and Hong Chiba have different views and usually mock and compete with each other, after all they have experienced so much, it would be false to say that they don't have the slightest bit of friendship. Now that he saw that the other party was about to die under the thunder calamity, Li Wuji couldn't bear it, and his heart was filled with sadness. The disciples and elders of Xuantian sect all had red eyes and couldn't bear to watch the next scene. The most powerful genius other than Master Yi is going to die from today. What a trick of fate. Junior brother Yi, my condolences. The master of Hidden Sword Peak said to Yi Junlin with a heavy expression. After he finished speaking, a jade hand pinched the flesh around his waist, causing him to grimace in pain. The master of Tianxiang Peak said angrily, "No one is dead, so you have a crow's mouth. It hurts, it hurts. Aren't you already about to die? Not even if you're about to die. Oh, I'll take it back first and save it for later." The sect leader Shu Yunian patted Yi Junlin on the shoulder and comforted him. "Junior brother Yi, you have to cheer up, this is his fate, don't worry, the sect will definitely give him a grand burial. Yes, and his name will be engraved on the monument of Xuantian sect and will be immortalized forever." The fat-headed and big-eared master of Fu Zhen Peak said seriously. "Is this really hopeless?" Yi Junlin frowned. Despite his lack of formality, when he saw his apprentice was really in a life-or-death situation, he would never sit back and watch. The most important thing is that Hong Chenny is the first cheap disciple he nominally accepted after traveling to this world. Everyday things we eat and drink, and every moment we spend in our daily lives, are all very real. If he were to lose him forever, Yi Junlin would always feel that he would have a lot less fun. "Junior brother Yi, please don't have any other ideas. All monks who cannot survive the thunder tribulation will die. This is the fate. If you intervene forcibly, the thunder tribulation will be targeted. Not only will you not be able to save others, but you will also be hurt yourself. Death without a burial place." Shu Yunian warned in a serious tone. "Oh, the target of thunder tribulation." Looking at the huge clouds of calamity in the vast sky, a strange color flashed in Yi Junlin's eyes, and an idea suddenly emerged in his heart. At this time, the 71st Sky Thunders gathered together, and the terrifying pressure fell around Hong Chenny. "Come on." Hong Chenny gritted her teeth and struggled to get up unsteadily, facing the coming terrifying thunder disaster. As a big devil, even if he dies, he must die standing. However, at this moment, a familiar voice sounded in my ears, "Disciple, you have done your best, and I will leave the rest to my master." Hong Chenny was stunned, and then turned around suddenly, only to see the young man in black appearing beside him at some point, with a head full of silver-white hair flying wildly, and a handsome face with a faint smile. "You, why are you here?" Hong Chenny's head was buzzing, and his face was full of disbelief. When passing the thunder tribulation, if someone approaches without reason, the power of the thunder tribulation will increase wildly, and it will affect the person who approaches privately. In this case, anyone who is targeted by the thunder tribulation will die. It can be said that there is no way to go up to heaven and no way to go down to earth, and there is no way to escape at all. "Master." Li Wuji was shocked and his eyes almost popped out. "What happened today? Not only will the senior brother be in trouble, but even the master will follow him. He wants to eat 2 meals at once. Junior brother Yi, are you crazy? Come back quickly." Shu Yunian was stunned and shouted in panic. "Good guy, you didn't hear what I said just now, right?" Everyone was panicked and pale when Yi Junlin suddenly appeared in the range of the thunder tribulation. "This is courting death. Cluck, Island Master Yi is in danger." The old hen exclaimed. Son, when you are going through the thunder tribulation, others cannot interfere, it will lead to the revenge of the thunder tribulation. The higher the target realm, the stronger the power. Even the immortal emperor will stay away from it. Our island master Yi is so confused." The little donkey was startled and screamed. "Why did he do this? Is there any way to deal with it?" Even though the willow tree was calm in the face of changes, it revealed strong emotional fluctuations. It was very shocked by Yi Junlin's behavior. For a long time, the thunder tribulation has no solution. As long as the cultivator who can't go through it will be wiped out. Anyone who forcibly interferes will be targeted by the thunder tribulation. No matter how far you escape, you will be retaliated wildly until you die completely, and the thunder tribulation will stop. Even if the target of the attack is the legendary Immortal Emperor, the power of the thunder tribulation will increase with the target realm, causing a percentage of real damage. This is also why other strong people stay away when others are going through the thunder tribulation. Who would be so desperate as to die? But now, there is a conspicuous person who did so. Boom! Amid the exclamations of the surroundings, the power of the thunder tribulation really increased tens of thousands of times, and the unimaginable air pressure enveloped the earth. Countless people were frightened to the point that their scalps almost burst, their bodies trembled like sieves, and there was deep fear in their eyes. Zilala! Billions of lightning bolts gathered into a vast and terrifying lightning, and the majestic murderous intent was firmly locked on the two figures below. Why did you do this? There is no need to add another life in this situation. Hong Chenny had a complicated expression. At the beginning, he wanted to turn the tables and suppress the other party with the means of the magic way, plundering the luck and resources, but gradually, he found that this idea was ridiculous. The other party was very powerful and he could not defeat him. What's more, after learning that the other party was suspected to be the Immortal Emperor, Hong Chenny dared not have this idea even more. Moreover, this person is also his mentor. Although he is always bullied and dissatisfied, he knows that without Yi Junlin, he would not be here today. He at least sees more scenery. The reason why he has come to this point is a destined disaster. It is inevitable, but if the other party dies because of him, it will be really unbearable. Haha, what are you afraid of? Stand still and see how your master will deal with it. In countless shocked eyes, Yi Junlin stepped up to the sky with his hands behind his back, approaching the thunder tribulation step by step. Not only did he not feel afraid, but he also had a kind of eager expectation. Is he going to attack the thunder tribulation? Hong Chenny was stunned at first, and exclaimed in disbelief. Is he not dying fast enough? And the scene that happened next will become a scene he will never forget. Chapter 231. C-231 Press Lei Jia and beat him. Feeling that the target was actively approaching, there was a deafening explosion in the calamity cloud, as if God was sullen and extremely dissatisfied with the ant's provocation. Boom! The next second, a chaotic thunderball about 10,000 feet wide fell down, as if it was going to destroy everything in the world, with a huge and boundless force. The power of this thunder can kill the Immortal King. Obviously, thunder tribulation increases its power based on the target's realm. In its view, Yi Junlin is just an immortal. Now that the thunder that is enough to kill the Immortal King is deliberately dropped, it is already overkill. Master! Junior brother Yi! Panic exclamations sounded out one after another. Everyone's expressions were full of anxiety, and they all felt that the silver-haired young man was about to fall under the thunder. Well done! Feeling the tremendous pressure that was surrounding him, Yi Junlin triggered the passive mechanism of getting stronger when encountering the strong. His aura suddenly surged, and his long silver hair flew into the air. He raised his hand with a sneer. Rumbling, a low rolling sound of millstones sounded, and suddenly a big hand of white light that shook the world stretched out from the void. The width of the palm stretched for thousands of miles, and billions of bright sacred lights burst out. This supreme bone comes with a skill, an advanced version of God's tribulation light, called Hand of God. Under the gaze of countless shocked eyes, this huge hand of white light flicked the falling chaos thunderball away, and then smashed it into the vast calamity cloud, releasing a black and white that destroyed the world. Say Lei Si. Boom! The sound of explosions resounded through the sky for tens of millions of miles, and countless thunder and lightning twisted in the depths of the sky, and then gradually disappeared. How is this possible? The creatures in the courtyard were frightened and their hearts trembled. Master Donkey, am I right? Master Yi Island actually blocked Lei Jia's attack. The little donkey eyes widened and he lost his voice. I can feel that it was a chaotic sky thunder that was enough to kill the Immortal King, but it was easily resolved by Yi Island Master. Could it be that he is a being more powerful than the Immortal King? The old hen asked in surprise. Everyone, please don't forget that the thunder tribulation represents the will of this world. If Yi Island Master's realm is higher than that of the Immortal King, then the thunder tribulation will increase its power accordingly to achieve the crushing effect. There is no possibility of being defeated. It was difficult for Willow to accept this incredible phenomenon, because it really subverted its traditional understanding. How is this done? Outside world. At this time, everyone's expressions instantly froze on their faces, and their mouths opened wide enough to fit an ostrich egg in. What's going on? They clearly felt that the destructive power of the chaotic thunderball was very terrifying, the kind that could easily raze the deserted state to the ground. However, it was flicked away by a light finger. This unbelievable operation, those who didn't know it thought it was a child shooting a glass ball. The tribulation clouds that were hit gathered again, and the scale of this tribulation cloud was larger than before. The thunder shook the sky and the earth, as if God was completely angered and was about to send a doomsday thunder punishment. The calamity cloud was filled with lightning that blinded the eyes. It was billions of chaotic thunders brewing crazily, and an energy even bigger than before was locked on Yi Junlin. Haha, if you have any other tricks, just use them. With the previous successful examples, Yi Junlin felt more secure. Facing the thunder tribulation that continued to increase in power, the corners of his mouth raised slightly. Boom! Lei Jia was furious. No living creature from ancient times to the present dared to be so disrespectful to it. This was a serious provocation to it. Unexpectedly, such an alien was born today. How dare you confront it? Although Lei Jia felt humiliated by the unexpected miss earlier, it quickly adjusted its attack power significantly and was bound to kill this hateful human race in one fell swoop. Roar! In the majestic calamity cloud, the majestic roar of tigers and dragons suddenly came, and a black dragon-shaped thunder light and a white tiger-shaped thunder light were conceived, exuding a mysterious atmosphere of chaos. The dragon-shaped thunder light twisted its body and hovered in the sky, and the tiger-shaped thunder light roared majestically. Aha! Then, two bolts of lightning, a dragon and a tiger, attacked the young man below from both sides. It is no exaggeration to say that even if 100,000 immortals gathered together, they would be brutally torn apart by these two dragon and tiger lightnings. Boom! A stronger sense of oppression than before came, and Yi Junline's eyes became more and more excited, because this would only make him stronger. The laws of heaven and earth. Taking this opportunity, Yi Junline used this great magical power, and his body instantly became huge and boundless. Even the mountains and rivers were just lines on his skin. At this moment, he stood like a sky-high giant in the void, feeling an extremely terrifying sense of oppression. His eyes were as bright as the stars in the universe. At this time, there was a heart-stopping roar of a tiger in his ears. Yi Junline raised his leg like a dragon wagging its tail, and kicked the tiger-shaped thunder from the side. Let's go! A series of big explosions in the air created a shocking visual effect. Boom! The tiger-shaped thunder light was kicked hard and flew straight out. The thunder light around him flickered and showed signs of collapse. However, at this time, the black dragon-shaped thunder roared towards Yi Junline's head and opened his mouth. The inside was as mysterious and deep as a black hole, with countless chaotic lightnings crisscrossing. If an immortal-level creature encounters it, it will be sucked in and turned into nothing. Roll! Unexpectedly, Yi Junline looked sideways, raised his hand and gave it a big showdown. Snap! The dragon-shaped thunder light was slapped hard, and the huge force almost caused its head to collapse, and it flew backwards wailing, with thunder and lightning crackling all over its body. Everyone's scalps were numb and their eyes were so wide that they were about to burst. The battle was not over yet. Two chaotic thunderbolts, one dragon and one tiger, regrouped and charged towards Yi Junline with their teeth and claws bared. You guys don't have long memories. Yi Junline sneered, dodged to the sky above the tiger-shaped thunder light, and stepped heavily on it with his right foot. Bang! The soles of the feet were filled with the aura of the avenue, and the tiger-shaped body shook with lightning and was trampled to pieces. Then, he raised his hand and clenched it into a fist, and the bright fist flew out and landed firmly on the dragon-shaped thunderhead. In an instant, his body exploded inch by inch, as if it had never appeared before. Under Yi Junline's punches and kicks, the two chaotic thunder lights of the dragon and the tiger were annihilated respectively. Completely disappeared into the air. The process is simple and crude, with no suspense at all. Ahem. At this moment, Yi Junline deliberately cleared his throat, put his hands behind his back, shook his head, and said slowly, "The dragon does not roar, the tiger does not roar, a small thunder disaster is ridiculous." Hiss, hiss, hiss. As soon as these words came out, gasps of air rang out one after another from all around. Everyone's expressions were very exciting. Damn it, you're just pretending. Now that I have gained experience, will Lei Jia also be defeated? Junior brother Yi, come on. Li Wuji's face turned red with excitement, his breathing was very rapid, and he murmured, "My previous guess was indeed correct. His master is definitely an omnipotent immortal emperor, otherwise how could he have such powerful means?" Hong Chenny looked at that majestic figure, her brain seemed to be shut down, like it was stuck in her throat, and she could not utter a single word. In the past, he never believed that anyone could fight against thunder tribulation, because this represented the will of the entire world and was a rule set by heaven. But everything that happened now completely overturned his inherent knowledge. It turns out that the truly strong never complain about the environment. You can't. That's because you can't. Look, the cloud of calamity has dissipated. Suddenly, many elders and disciples were surprised to find that a large cloud of calamity that originally shrouded the sky quickly disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. The sky was cloudless and the sun was shining brightly. What's going on? Did Lei Jia give up on his own initiative? Haha, Master Yi is so awesome that even Lei Jia has to bow to him. Is this really the case? I always feel like something is wrong, like a sign of an upcoming storm. Holy shit, shut your crow mouth. Everyone was talking about it, and they were surprised by this bizarre phenomenon. Hong Chenny breathed a long sigh of relief. Although he did not succeed in overcoming the disaster, he still saved his life. As long as a person is still alive, he will have the chance to become an immortal. Looking at Yi Junline's back, Hong Chenyi's heart was touched and she was about to say something. Suddenly, there was another rumbling sound in the sky above the head, and an unprecedented sense of oppression appeared. It seemed that a great terror was about to appear. This is. Hong Chenyi looked with numbness on his head, his pupils shrank into needles in shock, and the beating heart in his chest almost stopped, as if it was tightly grasped by invisible big hands. In the vast sky, the black calamity clouds that had originally dissipated appeared again, gathering crazily into an unprecedented scale. It turns out that the thunder tribulation did not disappear, but was passively promoted to a new level. Boom! The terrifying power of God instantly filled the entire Eastern Territory, and everyone was trembling with fear. At this moment, they were all uneasy, and there was a sense of fear in their hearts that a disaster was imminent. What's going on? The monks' faces turned pale and they all looked up at the sky, fear almost overflowing from their eyes. It seems that God is completely angry and is going to unleash endless wrath. That direction is the Xuantian sect where Senior Yi belongs. Shui Wuan, dressed in white, looked at the horizon, his eyebrows twitching, and his eyes contained the ultimate shock. What happened? In the calamity cloud, a humanoid outline filled with black and white lightning was condensed, surrounded by the chaotic energy of life and death. With an imperial crown on its head, it stepped out with its hands on its back, its posture was high, looking down at all living beings with indifference and coldness. In its eyes, any living being was indifferent. It's an ant. The aura it exudes is so terrifying. Desperately terrifying. Even the laws of heaven and earth are trembling with it. In the small courtyard, as if being struck by lightning, the willow tree lost its voice and said, "This is the final incarnation of thunder calamity. It can kill all immortal emperors." Chapter 232. C232 Lei Jia, I don't want face. The human-shaped lightning turned out to be the human-shaped lightning in ancient rumors. The creatures in the courtyard were horrified. This was the first time in their lives that they had seen such a thing. That's right, this humanoid lightning is the final incarnation of the thunder tribulation in the Kunlun realm, which has had the power to kill immortal monks for hundreds of millions of years. Oh my god, it is said that even the immortal emperor will drink hatred when he comes. There is no immortal emperor-level creature that can resist its power. The little donkey was so frightened that he knelt on the ground, trembling all over, and his eyes were filled with fear, meaning, as long as it exists in this world, thunder tribulation is invincible and has the blessing effect of the will of heaven. Now that it has appeared in its true form, it is clear that it wants to get rid of Yi Island Master. The old hen's legs and feet became weak and she screamed. Willow's heart was in chaos. This was a scene he had never seen before. It didn't know that the new island owner was so fierce. But now, can it continue to be fierce? Z-la-la. Countless rays of chaotic lightning flowed around the body. When the body of this thunder tribulation first appeared, it brought a huge invincible pressure. Click, 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 the surrounding space couldn't bear it and was shattered. The sight was terrifying. The thief is scary. The eyes of the incarnation of thunder tribulation were filled with overwhelming murderous intent as he stared at Yi Junline below. Before this, no living thing dared to resist it. As long as it was going through the thunder tribulation, it had to follow its rules. If anyone dared to disobey it, it would use all means to kill it. No monk of any level can be offended. Because in the Kunlun world, as a thunder tribulation, it is invincible. No matter how strong the target's cultivation level is, it can adjust its strength to achieve a complete crushing effect. But today, there is a bold being who not only breaks its rules, but also provokes it crazily. Can this be tolerated? Damn it, I can't stand it. Therefore, it lowered the thunder punishment to kill him. Since the target was only the heavenly immortal level, it simply used the immortal king level thunder punishment, thinking that it could easily eliminate this person and establish prestige. As a result, it had no effect. It was shocked, but also deeply confused. Logically speaking, its vision couldn't be wrong. Could it be that this kid was an immortal emperor? Angry and angry, it once again increased the power of the thunder tribulation, giving birth to a dragon tiger thunderlight that could kill countless immortals. Unexpectedly, he was still easily defeated by the opponent. And even made fun of it. In response to this, Lei Jia was completely furious. This time it wanted to risk all its dignity and status to show this human race that had repeatedly provoked it. It represents the will of heaven and cannot be insulted. An aura of despair enveloped the Xuantian sect. The monks' faces turned pale, and they were so frightened that they were dripping with cold sweat. They murmured, "It's over now." When the whole place was in panic, Yi Junline slowly stretched out his finger, pointed it at the incarnation of Thunder Tribulation, raised his chin, imitated a certain classic action, and shouted with great energy. "Come here." Quiet, deathly silence. Everyone was so frightened that their hearts almost stopped and they almost fell to the ground with black eyes. "It's already this time, you still dare to provoke me?" He was on the verge of death, jumping sideways repeatedly. Boom! The rolling thunder echoed throughout the eastern region, and many people were so frightened that they became incontinent. At this time, the incarnation of Thunder Tribulation was furious and flew away at an incredible speed, swinging his fists to kill this hateful young man. Oh, this lightning-like fist contains the aura of chaos. Even the Immortal Emperor will be beaten to pieces and his soul will be destroyed. However, Yi Junlin did not move at all against this punch. If someone asked him, why not avoid it? Yi Junlin would smile and reply with 4 words. Because I'm not afraid. A moment. Faced with the threat of this punch, Yi Junlin's momentum increased instead of decreasing, and his strength directly increased to an incredible level. Whoa! The golden fist shot out and violently collided with the fist of the incarnation of Thunder Tribulation. Boom! There was a huge sonic boom in the air, which could be heard millions of miles around. The incarnation of Thunder Tribulation was shocked, its punch was actually blocked. Is this still a human being? The most terrifying thing is that the power coming from the other party seems to be more powerful than it. This surprised him. Why is this guy stronger than it every time he displays his strength? It seems to be suppressing it from beginning to end. The incarnation of Thunder Tribulation became angrier and angrier as it thought about it. It did not believe that there would be any living beings in this world who could defy its judgment. Kill! The incarnation of Thunder Tribulation was roaring in its heart. Countless lightning fists came as fast as rain, and the energy of chaos was like a volcano erupting, overwhelmingly carrying the power to destroy all living beings. Hey, you're in a hurry. Yi Junlin had a teasing smile on his lips, raised his fist and struck immediately. The golden light fist marks were crisscrossed and crisscrossed, making the sky colorful. Boom 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 boom. In the deepest part of the sky, 2 powerful figures were fighting. The incarnation of Thunder Tribulation becomes more frightened as it fights. It clearly feels that every time its power increases, the opponent will become stronger than it. It seems to be endless, like a bottomless pit. Bang! Yi Junlin punched it in the face, and vast power surged out, causing its figure to fly backwards, arcs crackling all over its body, and its body began to flicker. Xiao Lei, you can't do it. Yi Junlin shook his head and sighed. Xiao Lei, hearing this title, the incarnation of Lei Jia was so angry that he wanted to explode. He represented the will of heaven, had the authority to judge all living beings, and had a high status. As a result, he was despised by others. Is it because you are too arrogant, or is it because I, Lei, can't hold the knife anymore? The next second, countless cultivators stared with their eyes wide open, their faces full of fear. In the field of vision, the human-shaped lightning that was above all the people in the world suddenly split into tens of thousands of clones. Each clone represents the power of the Immortal Emperor. Obviously, in order to kill Yi Junlin, Lei Jia used all his special skills. He must save his lost face. Xiao Lei, you will only make me more excited by doing this. Looking at the human-shaped lightning that occupied the entire sky, and feeling the tens of thousands of murderous intentions gathering, Yi Junlin couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth, and his eyes became more and more boiling with fighting spirit. Damn it, don't call me Xiao Lei. Lei Jia's incarnation was furious. With a thought, all the clones came out together, using the human sea tactics to attack Yi Junlin. That scene was thrilling, unprecedented and unparalleled. Boom, 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 boom. The explosions were earth-shaking and endless. Yi Junlin, who was besieged by countless human-shaped lightnings, was not at a disadvantage but became even stronger. His punches, fingers, palms, and kicks could destroy a large number of Thunder Tribulation clones. This scene was like the mythological records of the previous life, where the Monkey King was besieged by 100,000 heavenly soldiers and generals. Even though the enemy was outnumbered, he was invincible and invincible. Boom, boom, the dense human-shaped lightnings were destroyed by Yi Junlin, and the number was rapidly decreasing. Seeing this, the Thunder Tribulation incarnation was completely panicked. Damn, how can I fight this? No matter what it is, no matter what level of strength it increases, the opponent will change with its changes every time. It is simply getting stronger when it meets a strong opponent. When the remaining clones were killed, leaving only the real Lei Jia incarnation, for the first time in its life, it felt fear. This was the first time since its birth that it felt this fear. Monster, this is a monster. Xiao Lei, finally you and I are left again. Yi Junlin came with a smile on his face, and his smile was very kind, making people feel very friendly. But in the eyes of the Lei Jia incarnation, the image became particularly terrifying, frightening it so much that its heart trembled and its body retreated frantically. You, don't come over here. Chapter 233. C233 Lei Jia. Slip away, I can't afford to offend you. Seeing the young man walking towards him with a smile on his face, the incarnation of Thunder Tribulation panicked. What it hates most is people who have no sense of boundaries. Don't run, keep going, I haven't had enough fun yet. Yi Junlin waved his hand and said excitedly. As long as Thunder Tribulation actively attacks him, no matter how powerful the moves are, he can passively gain more powerful power, but once he doesn't attack him, he will return to his original state. Therefore, in the eyes of Thunder Tribulation, Yi Junlin is a celestial fairy on the surface, but when facing attacks at each level, his strength can increase accordingly. Not only can he deal with it with ease, but he is also in an overwhelming dominant position throughout the process. This bizarre phenomenon can be said to be very outrageous. Even Thunder Tribulation began to suspect that Yi Junlin is actually a being above the Immortal Emperor, and he just hid his cultivation just now to deliberately tease him. Because in this world, he can beat it so badly, except that his own realm has surpassed the Immortal Emperor, there is no second possibility. You know, once you reach that level, you can compete with the legendary Heavenly Tao and break free from the constraints of the laws of heaven and earth, so it is understandable that you can suppress the Thunder Tribulation that judges all living beings. Thinking of this possibility, at this time, the Thunder Tribulation incarnation has already lost all its fighting spirit. It is too late to hide, let alone continue to attack. Now it believes that Yi Junlin is a top boss. Deliberately hide your identity and pretend to be a pig to eat the tiger. Bored, use it to have fun. It's really too much. The more the Thunder Tribulation incarnation thinks about it, the more aggrieved he becomes, but he can't beat him. If he continues to fight, he will only suffer and humiliate himself. What to do? Can't afford to provoke, just run away. In full view of the crowd, the human-shaped lightning bolt fled in panic, and with a whoosh, it re-entered the vast calamity cloud. Then, this huge black calamity cloud quickly dissipated at an incredible speed. Soon, the sky was cloudless and the sun was shining. All the terrifying thunder and lightning phenomena just now disappeared at this moment, as if they had never happened. Senior Yi, did you drive away the thunder calamity? The cultivators in the 14 states of the eastern region were stunned and shocked. In their cognition, the status of the thunder calamity is incomparable. Whoever you want to die on the road to becoming an immortal, you can let him die. After all, in the long years of cultivating immortals, how many cultivators were struck by the thunder calamity and their souls were scattered? It can be seen that it is cruel and ruthless. Provoke it, don't provoke it. People who interfere with the thunder calamity often die miserably. But now, the thunder calamity that dominates the fate of hundreds of millions of cultivators was actually driven away by Senior Yi. Even the storytellers in the tea house dare not make up such stories, fearing that they will be struck by lightning and turned into slag when walking on the road one day. The cultivators who witnessed all this could not come back to their senses for a long time. In their minds, that person was already a legend of the time. In Xuanji Sword Sect, Shui Wuan looked into the distance, his eyes full of infinite enthusiasm, and murmured, "It is the greatest blessing for cultivators of my generation to live in the same era as Senior Yi." Xuantian Sect, everyone was still in shock. This was a famous scene they had never seen in their lives. As strong as the Thunder Tribulation, there will be a day to run away. Master Yi Feng is awesome. Well, this is too fierce, even the Thunder Tribulation was beaten by him like a grandson. Hiss, it's ridiculously strong. In an instant, boiling discussions arose, and the disciples and elders discussed excitedly. Junior brother Yi has brought us too many surprises. Doesn't he have any limits? The leader of Kangjian Peak was stunned in place, with an incredible look on his face. Well, if possible, I also want to find out where the limit of my junior brother is, the head of Tianxiang Peak said with a rosy face and beautiful eyes staring at the peerless figure. Her heart has long been conquered. Such blatant words made everyone look sideways with strange eyes. Ahem, pay attention to the impact. The leader Shu Yunian reminded. The head of Tianxiang Peak knew that he had spoken out of turn, and his ears turned red instantly. He hesitantly explained, I don't mean that, please don't misunderstand me. Oh, the other heads of the peaks said that they understood immediately, and their expressions were meaningful. Humph, I won't pay attention to you. The head of Tianxiang Peak was so angry that he stomped his feet and his chest trembled violently. At this time, the one with the most intense emotional fluctuations here must be Hong Chenny, who survived the disaster. He was covered in wounds and blood, looking at the endless sky, his eyes were filled with regret and relief. So, this time the tribulation is considered a failure. If so, I will continue next time. Boom, as soon as the voice fell. As if sensing something, the tribulation cloud formed again, but this time it did not bring down thunder punishment, but directly projected a colorful auspicious light, covering Hong Chenny's body. Swish, the sky was full of flowers and the sky was full of rosy clouds. Various auspicious scenes appeared, and purple air came from the east for 30,000 miles. There was an infinite amount of immortal light bursting out from Hong Chenny's body, all injuries were quickly healed, and the surface of the skin had a dazzling luster, which could be described as immortal flesh and jade bones. On the forehead, the flame mark was very bright red. After becoming an immortal, his temperament rose to a new level. His facial features were perfect, without a single flaw. The face that made countless women jealous added a bit of thrilling charm. Just by standing still, she has an unparalleled aura that can captivate everyone. Unlike other immortals, Hong Chenny's initial state was not the first level of true immortality, but the 9th level of heavenly immortality. This is not the most important thing, the quality of his immortal power has reached the 7th level. What concept? With this kind of cultivation alone, and the quality of her immortal power at a high starting point, Hong Chenny can completely crush any mysterious immortal, kill ordinary immortal monarchs, and compete with the top immortal monarchs. In other words, the current Hong Chenny is equivalent to a top-notch immortal lord-level combat power. After all, he survived the 9-5 Thunder Tribulation, which was the legendary version of chaos, so the reward he received was the highest. Not to mention the extraordinary qualifications for cultivating immortals, but considering the quality of the 7th grade immortal power, Hong Chenny's combat power is destined to be very terrifying. The quality of immortal power is divided into grades 1 to 9 from low to high. When you reach the Celestial Immortal, the quality of your immortal power will automatically be classified as the first level. When you reach the Xuanxian, the quality of your immortal power will be the second level. If you want to improve the quality of your immortal power later, you have to rely on unimaginable heavenly materials and earthly treasures to refine your own immortal power, or rely on special exercises to complete the transformation with difficulty. The process will be very long and full of variables. Every time the quality of the immortal power is improved by one level, the strength will increase dramatically, and the lethality of the spells and magical powers displayed is definitely very different. It is no exaggeration to say that many immortal kings and even immortal emperors only have the 3rd or 4th level of immortal power throughout their lives, and those who can reach the 5th or 6th level of immortal lords are in the minority. As for the 7th grade immortal power, generally only the immortal emperor has this qualification. Therefore, the initial quality of Hong Chenny's immortal power is the 7th level. You can imagine how terrifying this start is. This is an obvious benefit, but the invisible benefit is that his aptitude for cultivating immortals will be ridiculously strong, and his efficiency will crush 99% of immortals. After all, in the past history of Kunlun Realm, those who could survive this kind of chaotic thunder tribulation, as long as they did not die prematurely, could grow to the level of beings that surpassed the immortal emperor. Hong Chenny was surprised and happy that she suddenly became an immortal. He clearly felt that earth-shaking changes had taken place in his body, and he could easily kill himself in his heyday with one finger. When he was at his peak, he was only a true immortal in the 9th level. Even so, it has already stirred up the storm in the central region and triggered a bloody immortal war. After all, at that time, limited by the laws of heaven and earth and the harsh cultivation environment, the realm of true immortality was the highest realm. At this time, Hong Chiba was looking forward to what wonderful expressions he would have if his former rivals knew how strong he was now. If I return, you will definitely die without any body parts. The corner of Hong Chenny's mouth curved like a blade, and she felt that her blood was boiling all over, and she couldn't wait to show off her skills again and create greater glory. Whoa, after projecting a colorful auspicious light, the large cloud of calamity dissipated without a trace. It can be said that it comes in a hurry and goes in a hurry. Hey, that little Lei is quite sensible. Seeing Hong Chenny being judged by Lei Jia as having succeeded in overcoming the tribulation, Yi Junlin knew that this was Lei Jia's sign of showing weakness to him. Yi Junlin looked at Hong Chenny carefully and said in admiration, "My disciple is getting more and more beautiful." In the previous life, such a top-notch boy and girl would have become famous if they did any live broadcast. If they put on a royal sister's outfit, many female internet celebrities and anchors would be defeated, and countless male fans would compete in the comment area. The kind that calls you my wife. It's a pity that this happened to be the one with the handle. Certainly, it is not ruled out that there are special groups who will be more excited about this. Hong Chenny looked at the young man in front of her with very complicated emotions. He originally thought that he would die under the Chaos Level 9-5 Thunder Tribulation, and his career as an immortal would come to an end. Unexpectedly, things would turn around. At the critical moment, the man took action to protect him. After this incident, the image of the other party in his mind has been infinitely improved, and the previous prejudice and suspicion have disappeared, replaced by a strange emotion. After all, his tragic childhood experience caused him to have a very distorted personality and a moody temper. Even if someone extended a helping hand to him, they would think it was profitable. Now, Yi Junline's behavior is like a ray of dawn illuminating his dark inner world, making him start to value this master-disciple relationship. Between the ups and downs of thoughts, Hong Chenny exhaled heavily, her eyes became firm, and she knelt down willingly, resting her forehead on the ground, and said in a deep voice. Disciple Hong Chenny, thank you Master for saving me. I will never forget your great kindness. At this moment, the rebellious leader of the demon cult was completely convinced by this cheap master. Chapter 234, C234 My identity depends on your imagination. Oh, Yi Junline was stunned for a moment. This black-bellied traitor, will he really surrender to him? It seems that people are all made of flesh and blood. But to be honest, it's a bit uncomfortable. Zhao Hong, I still like your unruly appearance before, so that I will feel more accomplished when I train you. Yi Junline said with a serious face. Hong Chenny, who was originally touched and had a greatly changed impression, immediately had several black lines on his forehead after hearing these words, and the muscles at the corners of his eyes twitched. Sure enough, it's still this kind of irrelevant dead look. But the opponent's strength is so terrible that you can only follow his words. Hong Chenny forced a smile. Master, please stop talking down to me. I dare not show off in front of you. Yi Junline waved his hand. You are no longer the same as before. You are more powerful than me. Haven't you always wanted to surpass me and then compete with me? Come on, today is your chance. Yi Junline could see that Hong Chenny was very strong now. He was a 3rd-level immortal with a 2nd-grade immortal power, while the other party was a 9th-level immortal with a 7th-grade immortal power. Since he dared to make such a proposal, he was naturally not afraid of a setback on the spot. After all, he could take this opportunity to get the experience pack of his eldest disciple. This wave will only make a lot of money, definitely not a loss. What? The result? These words sounded like a bolt from the blue to Hong Chenny, frightening him so much that his whole body was shaking, his pupils were trembling, and his heart was filled with fear and anxiety. Yi Junline's proposal sounded different to him. Hong Chenny's eyes kept changing, and beads of sweat were overflowing from his forehead. He had a dark history in the past, and he had even betrayed his master. Now he was lucky enough to get a huge opportunity, which seemed to be unlimited, but compared with this person, he was just an ant. He is deliberately hitting me. In this situation, whoever takes action is a fool. The same mistake, Hong Chenny will not make it twice, not to mention that he just witnessed the other party's feat of beating Lei Jia, and the identity of the Immortal Emperor was confirmed. How could he be stupid enough to offend? In a moment, Hong Chenny thought he had figured out the implication, and immediately kowtowed again, with a look of repentance. Master, I deserve to die. From now on, I will absolutely obey the orders of the Master, and I will never have second thoughts. Yi Junline, look at this misunderstanding, are you so scared? It's okay, just take action, the Master wants to test your results. Yi Junline urged. Master, just now, I have sworn a poisonous oath. If I dare to commit a crime again, I will die a miserable death. Please don't embarrass me anymore. I will be obedient. The more Yi Junline did this, the more scared Hong Chenny felt, and the more certain he was of his guess. Test the results. I have never seen you do this before. Why did you do it at this time? Isn't this an opportunity to show off? You can beat me or scold me, but I will never be fooled this time. Hong Chenny thought to himself. He could already imagine that if he really believed this nonsense, he would definitely be forcibly taught a lesson. Then he would be the one to be embarrassed. You fucking. Yi Junline was a little depressed, brushed his sleeves and turned away. Forget it, there will be experience packs when the time comes, and there is no need to rush to fleece the disciple. It's a close call, I almost got beaten up. Quote, Hong Chenny couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when he saw the other party leave, and he felt a sense of relief all over his body. It was really scary just now. Fortunately, he was more witty this time and didn't give the other party a chance to make a fuss. Next, Congratulations rang out all around. They were all congratulating Hong Chenny on his enlightenment. Facing the familiar faces, Hong Chenny didn't put on a sour face as usual, but smiled rarely, bowed and returned the greeting, and behaved very properly. Because he felt the worry and regret that everyone showed when he was about to be killed by the thunder tribulation. In addition, he survived a disaster and got a blessing in disguise. He was in a good mood and his words and deeds became much friendlier. Seeing this, Shu Yunian and the others were surprised and happy. This disciple of junior brother Yi finally felt a sense of belonging to Xuantian sect. This is a great thing. Double happiness. Senior brother Hong, do you think I'm right? Li Wuji came over excitedly and winked. Hong Chenny nodded and sighed. Now I really believe it. As the saying goes, seeing is believing. He was a little skeptical before, but now he is completely convinced by this statement. Brother Hong, Master said that in order to celebrate your immortality, he specially asked you to go over and prepare a barbecue dinner. Bai Xiaoxi ran over happily. I knew it, now it was Hong Chenny's turn to be depressed. This logic was really touching. But this time, he was willing. Don't rush to leave, try the skewers I made. Hong Chenny said seriously to the people who came to congratulate. Shu Yunian and the others looked at each other, and their eyes were full of shock. It seems that Brother Yi, the eldest disciple, has really changed. Nephew Hong, then we can stay shamelessly and try your cooking skills. Shu Yunian said with a smile. Then, everyone enjoyed a delicious barbecue together at Piaomiao Peak. In the courtyard of the Immortal Island, after witnessing this scene from beginning to end, all living creatures were speechless and choked with mixed feelings. The little donkey said cautiously, well, do you think that Island Master Yi still needs our help? This is a fierce man who can drive away the thunder tribulation. If it were them, even if they were in their prime, they would die without a burial place when facing the attack of the thunder tribulation. Perhaps, the greatest significance of our existence is actually to entertain Island Master Yi. In the pond, the old carp slowly surfaced and rarely expressed his opinion. I really want to refute you, but I really can't find the basis for the refutation for a while. The old hen was ashamed and embarrassed. Miss Liu, what do you think? The other creatures looked over for help and asked. Because they witnessed the famous scene of Yi Junlin beating up the thunder tribulation, they were shocked and very puzzled. Since the new island master is so powerful, is there any need for them to exist? It seems that there is no crisis, right? The willow tree was in disarray in the wind. You ask me, who should I ask? Ask the guy at the bottom of the well. After trying to calm down, the willow tree said in a deep voice, don't underestimate yourself. I think there is only one reason why the Island Master Yi was able to defeat the Thunder Tribulation, and it is also the biggest reason why Lu Taisheng chose him. All living creatures listened attentively and held their breath. The willow tree said solemnly, if I am not mistaken, he is the legendary Heaven's Favored One. Heaven's Favored One. The friends in the courtyard were in doubt. Miss Liu, do you mean that the Island Master Yi carries the will of the heaven of Kunlun realm, so the Thunder Tribulation can't beat him? The old hen said in shock. The so-called Heaven's Favored One is equivalent to the Son of Heaven. In terms of status, the Thunder Tribulation is indeed forced to give in. After all, both represent the will of heaven, and it is understandable that the weaker party cannot beat the stronger party. Well, this is the only explanation now. After all, under normal circumstances, all creatures in Kunlun realm cannot fight against the Thunder Tribulation. Even the Immortal Emperor has to admit defeat. But Island Master Yi has great luck and blessings, and can ignore the judgment of the Thunder Tribulation. He must be favored by the heavenly Tao, Willow explained. In fact, there is another saying in its heart, that is, becoming a being above the Immortal Emperor can defeat the Thunder Tribulation, but that is obviously impossible. Except for the 4 supreme beings in Kunlun realm, no one has broken through that level yet. Therefore, the saying of the heavenly Tao Favored One is more appropriate. So that's the case. Miss Liu is still knowledgeable. All the creatures said they learned it and nodded. At this moment, Yi Junlin, who was eating skewers, never thought that his identity would jump from the Immortal Emperor at the beginning to the heavenly Tao Favored One. It can only be said that the weak are still struggling to raise their status, while the real strong have let others make up a new one for him. This is the gap. Chapter 235. C235 The Era of Highly Involuted Cultivation. The days passed. As time continues to pass, the internal environment of the entire Kunlun world is quietly changing. The concentration of spiritual energy between heaven and earth is frighteningly high. All kinds of heavenly materials and earthly treasures are born one after another. Even an ordinary dogtail grass can transform into elixir. Secret realms, caves, and ruins of all sizes are born out of nowhere. To put it bluntly, there are so many opportunities to cultivate immortality that it is unimaginable, and even low-level monks are all part of it, and they are all affected by it. The rare spiritual veins and spiritual minerals in the past have now become countless, and there are even legendary immortal veins that have been condensed. As long as you practice with the help of immortal energy, your cultivation speed is ridiculously fast. Hiss, could this be a gift from God to us? Damn it, I thought I was in the fairy world when I woke up. The golden age has begun. Everyone, see you at the end of the road. I don't want to farm anymore. I want to break into a new world, and I will die on the road to becoming an immortal. This unprecedented grand occasion of cultivating immortals shocked everyone in the Kunlun world. They were so excited that they did not dare to stop for a moment, for fear of missing the opportunity and being left behind. An elderly man sighed. This is the best of times and the worst of times. Although the changes in the training environment have brought more opportunities to become stronger, the corresponding ones are more intense competition. We are like driving a sailboat, riding the wind and waves on the sea, but if we are not careful, the boat will be destroyed and everyone will die. During this period, rising stars have sprung up like mushrooms after a rain, beginning to trigger the interests of the old forces. The confrontation and changes between the old and new forces are happening all the time in the 5 major domains. Countless monks are scrambling to plunder resources, and it is common for them to be beaten to death. Father of the child, stop fighting, your life is still at stake. In a bamboo forest, a beautiful woman in a palace dress, holding a baby in her arms, begged the tall middle-aged man next to her. No, if we choose to lie down now, our level will completely lag behind the average level of the cultivation world. The middle-aged man's lips turned white, and his face was full of unwillingness and anger. Both husband and wife are in the state of fusion. Before the great changes in the world, they could prosper wherever they went. For example, they could work as high-ranking ministers in a big family, or join a certain sect as guest elders, and they would all enjoy high status. Salary. As a result, times have changed. More and more joint ventures are born, creating competitive employment relationships with them and requiring lower salaries, and the market begins to become highly involuted. There is an old saying that goes, the waves behind the Yangtze River push the waves ahead, and the waves in front die on the beach. Unexpectedly, if they were not careful, the front wave would be threatened by the rear wave that overtook them. As a senior, the middle-aged man must not be convinced, so he threw himself into the fierce competition, hoping to improve his realm and gain higher treatment. Just a while ago, a middle-aged man discovered a new cave. He thought he had an opportunity, but before he even had time to step through the threshold, he was intercepted by several waves of people who arrived. In the fierce melee, the middle-aged man was unfortunately injured and escaped in embarrassment. Fearing that he would be chased by his enemies, he hid in the mountains to recuperate from his injuries. After recovering a little these days, he wanted to go out and make a living. However, his wife was very afraid that something might happen to him. She held the baby in her arms and begged, trying her best to keep him. Hearing her husband's words, the beautiful woman in palace clothes frowned. I understand the truth, but now there is so much pressure from competition outside, and those in the fusion realm are no longer very powerful. I'm afraid you are in danger, so it's better to hide in the mountains first. Let's raise the child later. The middle-aged man sighed helplessly. Hey, in such a severe situation, how can we parents be qualified to lie down? Can you bear to see our children lose at the starting line in the future? After saying that, he jumped up and turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the sky. Father of the child, we are waiting for you to come back. The beautiful woman in palace clothes had tears in her eyes and was very sad inside. She also didn't expect that the combined realm would be in a difficult situation these days. Volume 2 Volume, in a certain medium-sized sect. After an experienced spiritual planter was informed by the elders that he would be fired with immediate effect, his whole body was like a thunderbolt, which was simply unacceptable. Why, my monthly salary is only 50,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals, and my cultivation has reached the nascent soul realm. You have to fire me under such good conditions. I don't accept it, said the man in green angrily. Unexpectedly, the elder glanced sideways and said, the new spiritual planter has just arrived. His cultivation level is at the realm of transformation into gods. His salary is only 30,000 mid-grade spiritual crystals. Even a fool knows how to choose. What? Come on, don't be an eyesore here. Oh. The man in Xingyi was so lost that he turned around to leave. Before leaving, he heard a quarrel not far away. Elder Ming, my salary is decreasing every month. Aren't you bullying honest people? Haha, there are a lot of animal trainers with your conditions out there, and the sect still keeps you, so you can just have some fun. Happy you or numb, labor and management quit, humph, if you don't do it, others will, so get out. The quarrel ends. The man in green saw a man in gray walking out angrily. The two looked at each other with awkward expressions. Fellow Taoist, you also. There is no other way, the situation is forcing us. Hey, people with higher cultivation than me require lower salaries than me. They are really reaching new heights these days. Seriously, I really want to go back to my hometown and lie down. Their tragic experience is just a microcosm of the current cultivation world, as some people say. This is the best of times, and the worst of times. East Region. As time goes by, changes occur in various dojo one after another. Rumble, earthquake-like sounds resound in all directions. Countless fairy mountains shrouded in clouds and mist appear one after another, and the mountains rise and fall like giant dragons hovering above the 9 heavens, and the dazzling rays of light fill the surface of the mountain peaks. Looking from afar, it is shocking. At this moment, 100,000 fairy mountains appear together. My God, there must be a huge fortune inside. God bless my East Region. Blessings to all living beings. Quick, 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 go in and take a look. Go, quote. Seeing the 100,000 immortal mountains suddenly appear, all the cultivators in the East Region went to explore, fearing that if they went too late, the good things in the mountains would be stolen. Soon, they began to find something wrong. The 100,000 immortal mountains seemed to be vast and boundless, but in fact most of the areas were blocked by a mysterious force and could not be entered at all. But even so, the immortal cultivation resources hidden in the other areas made the cultivators who stepped into this place scream. Everyone's eyes were full of heat. Ah! At this time, screams rang out outside the immortal mountain. A large number of cultivators were blown away by a terrifying force, and exploded into blood mist in the air. The scene was very scary. Chapter 236. C236. If you can't win in the central region, change the track. These 100,000 immortal mountains belong to our Kangming Dao sect. Other irrelevant personnel, leave immediately, otherwise you will be killed without mercy. The majestic voice was cold and ruthless. A middle-aged man in crimson-purple clothes came slowly with his hands behind his back, his eyes looked down, and his tone was unquestionable. What a shitty Dao sect. I have never heard of it. How dare you monopolize the 100,000 immortal mountains in my East Region? Among them, Fan Desheng, the great elder of the Dao sect, also led the sect's team to the scene. At this time, he was very dissatisfied with the arrogant tone of the purple-robed man. After all, the status of the Dao sect is among the best in the East Region, and it dares not declare to the outside world that it will monopolize the 100,000 immortal mountains, fearing that it will arouse public anger. What kind of thing is this Kangming Dao sect? It wants to occupy everything as soon as it opens its mouth. That's right, the Eastern Region cultivators present nodded, because they had never heard of this sect either, and were very dissatisfied with the purple-robed man's behavior, and for a time they shared a common hatred against the enemy. HMPH, you dare to insult my Kangming Dao sect? The purple-robed man's eyes turned cold, and he raised his hand to make a gesture. Countless materialized purple gases gathered into a purple 5-finger mountain of 10,000 feet, with a gorgeous and mysterious purple halo flowing all over the body, emitting a monstrous energy fluctuation. Go! The majestic purple 5-finger mountain flew away, surrounded by dense and mysterious runes, and pressed down on Fan Desheng's head. Fan Desheng is now in the middle stage of the tribulation, but he can't resist this move. He was pressed by the purple 5-finger mountain and vomited blood. His bones were cracked, and he looked very miserable. The great elder of the Dao sect was suppressed by an unknown strong man, which shocked all the cultivators, and beads of sweat overflowed from his forehead. Fan Desheng doubted his life. The other party was actually a perfect tribulation. With such cultivation and strength, it is impossible for him not to know someone in the East Region. After all, these strong men have a circle and are very familiar with each other. However, Fan Desheng had no impression of the purple-robed man, as if he appeared out of thin air. And the so-called Kangming Dao sect behind him, could it be a newly rising force in the East Region? I have never heard of it before. My Kangming Dao sect is one of the 8 great Dao sects in the Central Region. Is it something that a lowly person like you can blaspheme? Chen Jizzy sneered. What? The whole audience was in an uproar. It turned out that this guy came from the Central Region. And the sect he belongs to is one of the 8 great Dao sects in the Central Region. No wonder he has the capital to be arrogant. The 8 great Dao sects in the Central Region. Fan Desheng's face changed drastically, and he almost forgot the pain in his body. The central region is the central area of Kunlun realm. It has always been a place of outstanding people and strong people. There are countless immortal sects there. But the top ones are still the 4 holy places. They are in a high position and have stood firm for countless years. Below the 4 holy places are the 8 great sects. The foundation of these 8 sects is second only to the 4 holy places, and they are also very important in the central region. Fan Desheng did not expect that this person was from one of the 8 great sects. At this critical moment, he represented his sect to seize the fairy mountain. The meaning behind this is self-evident. Suddenly, he was very depressed again. You know, there are 108 states in the central region, and the 14 states in the eastern region are not worth mentioning at all. The most important thing is that the Kunlun realm has always been dominated by the central region, and the local cultivators in the central region are disdainful of setting foot in the outside world, because the 4 major regions combined are not as good as their central region. The central region is Kunlun, and Kunlun is the central region. This old saying has been passed down for a long time, and you can imagine how high the central region is. But now, a powerful person from one of the 8 great sects in the central region has personally entered the eastern region to compete with them for resources. What is going on? Don't you care about your face? Seeing that this group of people were shocked by his identity, Chen Jizi's face became even more arrogant, and he was very proud in his heart. In fact, he didn't expect that he would encounter such a great fortune just after being sent to the eastern region by the sect. If he reports this to the sect later, it will definitely be a great achievement. In the past, the cultivators in the central region disdained to set foot in the outside world, unless they were chased by enemies to no way out, or they were completely unable to survive, they would flee to the other 4 regions. After all, in their traditional impression, except for the central region, the other 4 regions are very backward. But now, the situation is different from the past. At present, the competition in the central region is very fierce, and it has entered a highly involutionary stage. In order to maintain their status, the major old forces plundered and seized resources wantonly. Many emerging immortal cultivation forces formed groups everywhere and intrigued each other. The situation was treacherous and changeable, and very cruel. The Kangming Dao sect, to put it nicely, is one of the 8 great Dao sects, but it is ranked at the bottom. Facing the threat of the rising star, the Kangming Dao sect felt a huge crisis. If it is a little tired and does not stand firm, it will definitely fall out of the ranks of the 8 great Dao sects. In response, the sect leaders were anxious and sent several powerful Tribulation Realm Masters, known as the World Walkers, to represent the Kangming Dao sect to check the situation in the other 4 regions. The purpose is very simple, just to see if there is any progress. And Chen Jizi is one of the World Walkers. He followed the sect's order and had just arrived in the East region not long ago, when he happened to see the scene of the 100,000 immortal mountains appearing out of nowhere. This made him very happy. He immediately took action to kill people to establish his authority, and used the name of Kangming Daoist sect to force the cultivators in the eastern region to give up the 100,000 immortal mountains. Chen Jizi, who was born in one of the 8 great Dao sects, had a natural sense of superiority in his heart. He was confident that no one dared to provoke him in this place. Now you know how serious the consequences of humiliating my Kangming Dao sect are, right? Chen Jizi sneered at Fan Desheng, who was pressed by the 5-finger mountain. Feeling the increasing pressure on his body, Fan Desheng's eyes were bloodshot, and blood was flowing from his 7 orifices. He looked like a ghost and looked very miserable. Grand Elder. The disciples behind him were extremely angry and attacked the purple 5-finger mountain one after another, but any spells hitting it had no effect at all. Master, I will avenge me. Fan Desheng's mouth was bleeding, his breath was getting weaker and weaker, and his eyes were full of deep unwillingness. This glorious era has just begun. Is he going to leave in this way? However, at this moment, a female voice full of anger sounded, "Let go of my Uncle Fan." Swish! The white fist wrapped in the power of the stars flew like a meteorite from outer space, and crashed into the purple 5 Fingers mountain with a terrifying momentum. Boom! The purple 5 Fingers mountain exploded and turned into nothing. Who was so bold? Chen Jizi was shocked and angry. The strength of those who could break his move should not be underestimated. But the most important thing is that someone dared to stop the World Walker of Kangming Dao sect from doing things. This is a capital crime. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula_tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail. 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 237, C337 Zhang, on the order of the master, came to patrol the mountains. And Miaoyi appeared, surrounded by stars and emitting infinite sacred light, making her look like a female war god above the 9 heavens. At this time, her almond eyes were wide open, staring at Chen Jizhi, and her pretty face was filled with murderous intent. "It's senior sister N," the disciples of the Wendao sect said in surprise. "Miss, you are out of retreat." Fan Desheng was looking at the familiar figure, a little absent-minded. He didn't expect that the junior who was once to be protected by him had grown up to be able to stand on his own. And Miaoyi felt very scared. If she was a step later, wouldn't she never see Uncle Fan again? Thinking of this, she hated Chen Jizhi to the bone. The descendant of the starry immortal body. Chen Jizhi recognized that this was a rare starry immortal body. A trace of fear flashed in his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by cruelty. So what? He has an advantage in cultivation, and he comes from the Kangming Dao sect, practicing the most orthodox Kangming Dafa. He doesn't believe that he can't defeat a woman who has reached the peak of the tribulation. Die. Chen Jizhi made a seal with both hands, and the strange image of monsters and demons appeared around him. The wind howled, the dark fire surrounded him, and a desperate breath spread like a tide. In an instant, the emotions of all the cultivators were affected, and they felt that they had no desire to live and couldn't stop crying. "Huh, crooked and evil ways." And Miaoyi snorted coldly. With a firm will, she punched out, and the fist light turned into a dazzling meteor, flying away as fast as lightning. Boom! A dull explosion sounded. "Huh," and Miaoyi raised her eyebrows and found that there was a netherworld door surrounded by death in front of her, blocking her. When she was about to take action, a dense netherworld door suddenly appeared around her. Fire of Kangming. Chen Jizhi changed his hand seals and grinned. Shua shua shua. All the netherworld gates opened at the same time, bursting out a dark green flame like a hurricane. The fire column contained the power to burn the sky and boil the sea, and it was going to burn the target trapped inside into ashes. Chen Jizhi was very confident that under this move, even the strongest person who had reached the perfect state of the tribulation realm would be either dead or disabled, not to mention that the opponent's cultivation was lower than his, and the end was imaginable. Not good. Everyone was shocked. At this time, a bright and boundless starlight burst out, and the densely packed netherworld gates trembled violently, and finally they were broken into pieces and disappeared. And Miaoyi was bathed in the starlight, and her beautiful eyes contained thousands of starlights, which made it difficult to look directly at. Let me give you a taste of the unique skill I just realized. Pegasus Meteor Fist. As soon as the words fell, the silver-white fist light fell like a meteor, exuding a breath of destruction. What? Feeling the huge pressure, Chen Jizhi was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat and quickly exerted all his strength to resist the Pegasus Meteor Fist. But soon, he couldn't hold on, and his body was almost shattered, and blood bloomed like flowers. Ah! Chen Jizhi screamed, and when he felt desperate, the token he carried with him sensed the crisis of death and released an amazing energy, wrapping Chen Jizhi's broken body. Boom! At this time, all the injuries on Chen Jizhi's body were instantly healed, and his body burst out with a momentum hundreds of times stronger than before. It seems that the token given to me by the sect master has been activated. I didn't expect that there was a ray of immortal power refined by the sect master in it, which can help me survive the crisis and gain more powerful power for a short time. Chen Jizhi was surprised and happy. As a person who walks the world, representing the Kangming Dao sect, it is understandable that he is valued. Bitch, I will make you pay the price. Chen Jizhi grinned, pinched his fingers with one hand and slapped forward, and the purgatory handprint with a terrifying aura gathered together, suppressing all the meteor fists that came bombarding. This. And Miaoyi's face changed, and she had an ominous premonition in her heart. Then, Chen Jizhi, who seemed to be assisted by God, easily resolved her attack. Bang! And Miaoyi was knocked out, and her body hit the mountain wall heavily, making a thunderous sound. Puff! And Miaoyi couldn't help but spurt out a stream of blood, mixed with the broken internal organs, her pretty face turned pale, and her spirit was very weak. The pair of bright eyes contained grief and anger. Senior sister N. The disciples cried out. No, Fan Desheng was desperate. Is this the foundation of the Kangming Dao sect? Any strong man who walked out at random had strength beyond imagination. Ha ha ha, Chen Jizhi laughed loudly, his laughter was full of invincible arrogance. At this moment, his heart was extremely inflated, as if he could suppress the entire eastern region with just a wave of his hand. I changed my mind. Everyone present must die. Chen Jizhi had a cruel smile on his lips, and a killing light flashed in his eyes. He was going to kill them all in one go to shock all the forces in the eastern region. The wind howled, and ghosts cried and wolves howled. In the void, an ancient Shira gate opened wide, releasing countless dark purgatory chains, which were like orderly runes intertwined, shaking out soul-stirring energy fluctuations. Hula. The purgatory chains in the sky extended in all directions, which was to drag all the monks except him into the endless abyss of death. Run. The monks were in chaos, and many of them were entangled, struggling in the air, with horror on their faces. The scene was horrible. As long as they are in the territory of the 100,000 Immortal Mountains, even if they are wandering around nearby, they will be entangled by ancient chains. There is no power to resist. Damn, and Miaoyi gritted her teeth and tried to break free from the chains on her body, but it was useless. She could only watch herself and other fellow disciples being dragged into the dark door. At the critical moment, a sharp black knife light appeared, not attacking the door, but aiming at the caster. Puff. Ah. Chen Jizzy covered his bloody broken arm and screamed miserably. His forehead was covered with beads of sweat, and he was sweating coldly. The knife just now almost took his life. This small east region actually has such a powerful knife cultivator. Because the spell was forcibly interrupted, the Shira gate disappeared, and all the monks bound by the chains recovered at this moment and retreated frantically with lingering fear. Saved. Fan Desheng and the others breathed a sigh of relief, with excitement on their faces. Who is it? Stand up. Chen Jizzy shouted in shock and anger. He anxiously wanted to connect the broken arm, but was shocked to find that the knife intent left in the wound was extremely terrible, and it was difficult to grow flesh and blood again. Chen Jizzy looked along the source and gritted his teeth. Did you cut me? The first thing he saw was a young man in green clothes, with thick eyebrows and big eyes, dark skin, and clear and bright eyes. The big Mushroom King was startled and waved his hands repeatedly. No, it's not me, you recognize the wrong person. After saying that, he made way with an embarrassed face. Li Wuji, wearing a bamboo hat, carried a big knife and a piece of grass in his mouth. He walked over with a bohemian temperament. I came to patrol the mountain on the order of my master. Chapter 238. C338 let the whole eastern region feel the pain. Patrol the mountain. Everyone looked strange. If you didn't know, you would think they were bandits. However, when they saw Li Wuji appear, everyone's hearts calmed down. After all, he was the disciple of that person. His swordsmanship was so amazing that he was called the Sword Demon a long time ago. Dao Yu Li, you came at the right time. He comes from Kangming Dao sect, one of the 8 major Dao sects in the central region. This time he is going to represent the sect to occupy the 100,000 Immortal Mountains. Fan Desheng said in a deep voice. Be careful, this guy is very powerful. And Miaoyi reminded. In her opinion, Li Wuji's sword was an unexpected effect. Now the opponent is ready, and the next battle will definitely be a dragon-tiger fight. Feeling that their breath was very weak, the great Mushroom King formed seals with both hands, and a green life energy surrounded them. Wow! Fan Desheng and Miaoyi recovered instantly, the hidden dangers were eliminated, and their condition returned to their heyday. Thank you, Dao Yu. The two of them showed surprise and bowed. No, you're welcome, it's just a piece of cake. The great Mushroom King said timidly. Chen Jizzy saw it and was shocked. Such a powerful healing spell, it's just short of being able to bring the dead back to life, right? This ability, in the central region with a lot of talents, can be regarded as a guest of honor by all forces and called a medical saint. And what is the origin of that sword cultivator? Who is the master he mentioned? Chen Jizzy realized that he might have hit a wall, but due to the situation, he couldn't show weakness, so he had to continue to be tough. Is this someone from the central region? Or one of the 8 great Dao sects? Li Wuji raised his eyebrows, a little surprised. This is the first time he has seen a strong man from the central region. Moreover, in his impression, the central region is all high-end, and it is the gathering place of the big guys in the Kunlun realm. Unexpectedly, this person came from the central region, and his identity is one of the 8 great Dao sects. HMPH, you're scared now, right? You just cut off one of my hands, how are you going to compensate me? Seeing the other party's surprised expression, Chen Jizzy immediately took this opportunity to overpower him and said viciously. How to compensate? Li Wuji pondered. Then let me cut off another hand of yours. Make a pair. Chen Jizzy. Hearing this logical and touching answer, the cultivators secretly thought that he was worthy of being Senior Yi's disciple. Are you kidding me? Chen Jizzy was angry and felt that the power in his body was still there. He quickly made a gesture with one hand and then grabbed it like lightning. Boom! A black big palm surrounded by countless death appeared, and the palm contained the other side of the yellow spring, and the strange phenomena of Senluo, as if the underworld had descended to the world. This was Chen Jizi's full-strength attack, which could be said to be unreserved. And Miao Yi's heart was in her throat. If it were her, she would definitely be beaten to death. Who would have thought that Li Wuji was full of disdain, holding the knife high above his head, and it was a decisive cut. There is no frills, and there is a sense of simplicity. Swish! The black palm was cut off by a knife, without any suspense. Not good. Chen Jizi was shocked and instinctively wanted to dodge sideways. Puff! The other arm was raised with blood. Ah! The scream was extremely shrill. Blood was pouring from the cut, and now Chen Jizi has become an armless man with a strong will. This is my compensation for you, no need to thank me. Li Wuji waved his hand generously. Chen Jizi, who lost both arms, had a face full of grief and anger, and said in a broken defense. Thank you for paralysis. They are both perfect in the tribulation, but the gap in strength is too big. Seeing this scene, and Miao Yi was shocked and felt deeply frustrated. That man is so strong even for his apprentice. Li Wuji shook his head, it's impolite. As he said, he waved the ink knife in his hand. Puff! Chen Jizi's legs were cut off and he fell in a pool of blood, his face full of pain and screaming. At this moment, how could he still look as arrogant as before? The cultivators felt their scalps numb and relieved. He came to the East region to find a sense of existence, thinking that he could bully the weak, but was sanctioned in the opposite way. He can only say that he should be more careful in his next life. Do you dare to tell me which sect you are from? Tell me your name. Chen Jizi raised his head with difficulty, his eyes were bloodshot. In the past, Li Wuji would definitely hide it, fearing that the sect behind him would be implicated. But now, since he knew the origin of his master and witnessed the famous scene of Lei Jia being beaten away, he instantly felt that if I and my master joined forces, the two of us would be invincible. What is there to be afraid of? If you don't accept it, just fight. Not to mention one of the 8 major sects in the central region, even if the 4 major holy places came, they would kowtow obediently. Haha, listen to me. The one who killed you is the most trusted and favored disciple of the master of Piaomiao Peak of Xuantian sect, and the strongest sword cultivator in the history of the eastern region, Li Wuji. Li Wuji straightened his chest and said in an unquestionable tone. The big mushroom king behind him was shocked. Senior brother Li has a strong psychological quality, and he can say such shameless words. Everyone looked at each other, and there was no way to complain in their hearts. Good, very good, you and your sect will soon face a catastrophe. Chen Jizi laughed in anger, with a trace of revenge in his eyes. Is this your last words? The dogs shook their heads when they heard it. Li Wuji looked contemptuous and slashed heavily with a knife. Bang! The brilliant sword light that penetrated the sky and the earth swept away, and the momentum was very terrifying. Ah! The screams rang out, and then fell into silence. When everyone looked at it again, there was no trace of Chen Jizi on the ground. No complete body. Li Wuji put the knife back into the scabbard casually, and said calmly as if nothing had happened. You guys continue to do your own things. I came here to check what is different about this fairy mountain under the order of my master, and find something useful for myself. Thank you for saving my life, fellow Taoist Li. Everyone bowed their hands and thanked. Fan Desheng had a complicated expression. He originally thought that if he offended Kangming Dao sect, Xuantian sect would be in trouble, but then he thought, that's not right. Even Lei Jia was beaten away by Senior Yi, so the so-called Kangming Dao sect is nothing. Thinking about it this way, it doesn't seem to be a big deal. At the same time, Central Region, Kangming Dao sect. Surrounded by mountains, misty clouds, countless rainbow lights flying around, the scene is very lively. On the majestic and spectacular highest floating island, there stands a magnificent palace. The palace is densely packed with powerful figures, and it seems that an extremely important meeting is being held. A tall man wearing a cloud-patterned holy robe sat on the throne, with broad eyebrows, a high nose, and deep and gloomy eyes. He was filled with brilliant fairy light all over his body. From a distance, he looked like a god or demon, and his aura was as vast as the sea. This is the leader of Kangming Dao sect, Yi Wusheng. Master, a few days ago, Wuji Dao sect robbed us of more than a dozen resource sites, and said that they borrowed from us and would pay us back later. An elder said bitterly. Yi Wusheng's forehead veins jumped. Those damn beasts, do you have any shame? Asshole, how can we, the Kangming Dao sect, endure such a thing? Yi Wusheng slapped the armrest excitedly and shouted angrily, do you still have any backbone? An elder stood up and said, Master, the problem is that the other 6 major Dao sects all advised us to endure it. Do you think we should listen or not? Yi Wusheng was stunned. The other 6 major Dao sects all spoke for Wuji Dao sect, and they united to bully their Kangming Dao sect. As the tail of the 8 major Dao sects, are we destined to be excluded? A sense of powerlessness emerged in Yi Wusheng's heart. We should listen. After all, they are doing it for our own good, right? Yi Wusheng touched his nose. So embarrassing. The elders were speechless and choked, and felt that it was expected. There is no way. The Kangming Dao sect is at the bottom of the 8 major Dao sects, and it used to be able to barely maintain its status by relying on its old capital. Now is a highly involutionary environment. The forces in the entire central region are being reshuffled. The status of Kangming Dao sect is already in jeopardy. In this case, who among the other 7 major Dao sects is willing to play with you? Therefore, they have excluded and suppressed them. And those emerging forces that came later have launched an attack on the status of Kangming Dao sect, wanting to take this opportunity to join the ranks of the 8 major Dao sects. Such a fierce front-to-back attack is simply unbearable. At this moment, Yi Wusheng suddenly sensed something, and his eyes changed. In his mind, all the memories of Chen Jizi before his death emerged. Boom! After receiving all the information, Yi Wusheng burst out with terrifying immortal power fluctuations, and the powerful pressure instantly enveloped the entire hall. Everyone was pale and at a loss. Master, what are you? At this time, Yi Wusheng was very angry, with a terrifying scene of galaxy disillusionment in his eyes, and gritted his teeth and said, Elder Chen was killed in the East region. What? The whole audience was in an uproar. Everyone couldn't believe it. After all, Chen Jizi was a veteran strong man in the Tribulation realm, and he had a protective token given by the sect master. Wouldn't it be easy for him to go to the neighboring East region? Who was so powerful that killed him? You know, Chen Jizi represented the Kangming Dao sect. His death in the East region was a slap in the face of the sect. Elder Chen discovered that the East region had 100,000 immortal mountains, and wanted to occupy them in the name of the Kangming Dao sect. As a result, the group of cultivators were unwilling and a conflict broke out. In the end, the person who killed him was a sword cultivator, who was the disciple of the master of the Piaomiao Peak of the Xuantian sect. Li Wuji. Yi Wusheng said with an ugly face. Through his memory, he saw Li Wuji's strength, which was indeed a rare existence in his life. Of course, this place was limited to the Tribulation realm, and he was like an ant in the eyes of the immortals. Xuantian sect. An elder reacted and said in doubt, why does the name of this sect look like? I know what you want to say, but the two are absolutely unrelated. Yi Wusheng emphasized. There are so many sects in the world, and it is normal for their names to be similar. A small sect in a remote area cannot possibly have any connection with that place. Before Elder Chen died, he discovered the 100,000 immortal mountains for our sect. If our sect can occupy it in advance, we can establish an advantage in the central region. The most hateful thing is that group of cultivators in the eastern region dared to go against our Kangming Dao sect. Yes, we are one of the 8 great sects after all, but they don't know how to give us some face. It's so infuriating. We must seek justice, uproot Xuantian sect, and let the eastern region see how powerful our Kangming Dao sect is. The crowd in the hall was excited, and everyone was shouting for fighting and killing, and they didn't look wilted just now. I was submissive in the central region, and I hit hard in the eastern region. Yi Wusheng nodded and said in a deep voice, the murderer can have such strength, and the master behind him must be an immortal, so my Kangming Dao sect will also send immortals to fight. Since the recovery of heaven and earth, the number of immortals has increased dramatically in the central region, and many Kangming Dao sect have also broken through to become immortals. Sending a team of immortals to descend on the East region with an absolute attitude shows the foundation of Kangming Dao sect. Just thinking of the group of cultivators in the East region who were so scared that they dared not say a word, Yi Wusheng felt so happy in his heart. Crush, a complete crush. Make up your mind. Yi Wusheng slowly stood up, his deep voice full of cruelty echoing in the huge palace. Next, I will make the entire East region feel the pain. Let them know what will happen if they anger my Kangming Dao sect. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumb speed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail. 300 times 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 times 250 feet. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 239. C239. You know how to practice. After a period of time, All the areas that could be explored in the 100,000 Immortal Mountains were visited by the eastern region cultivators, and many people benefited from it and made rapid progress in their cultivation. In the past, cultivators in the God transformation realm could get ahead wherever they went, but now there are so many God transformations that even in some large immortal cultivation families, God transformations are only worthy of guarding the gates. The fusion realm is barely good enough, and the Mahayana realm is the backbone. Although the number of Tribulation Realm cultivators is increasing rapidly, it is still considered the top combat power except for the true immortals. This is the current situation in the eastern region. Everyone is rolling inward and scrambling to become stronger. If you don't roll in, you will be left behind, and when you want to catch up, you will find that you are far behind the average. And in this tight and competitive era, Xuantian sect, surrounded by fairy mist, rich fairy air, and gushing fairy springs, it is definitely a rare holy place for cultivating immortals in the world. The disciples and elders are all practicing diligently and dare not relax at all. Master Yifeng is so amazing. He can arrange the formation and transform the sect to this level. It is said that our Xuantian sect now has 999 immortal veins. Is this true? Of course it is false. Practicing in this environment, even a pig can take off. Woo woo, I'm crying. Master Yifeng is so good to us. We must practice to death, so that we can live up to his good intentions. Everyone, I'm sorry. I was lazy yesterday. I was distracted for 2 seconds during the practice. I'm not a human. I'm really not a human. Started to slap himself in the face. Brother Luo, don't do this. Brother Luo, just a few days ago, Yi Junlin had nothing to do, so he arranged several 9th grade heavenly formations in Xuantian sect, and lavishly transformed the cultivation environment inside the sect, so that the spiritual veins gradually transformed into immortal veins. You know, even if the world is recovering now, and immortal veins are born in the 5 major domains one after another, immortal veins are still very precious, and other sects are lucky enough to grab one. But in Xuantian sect, there are as many as 999 immortal veins. If this news spreads, it will definitely cause a huge sensation in Kunlun realm. Piao Miao Peak. In the courtyard of Yunxian Island, a handsome young man with silver hair hanging down to his waist sprinkled a handful of feed on the pond, attracting countless golden carps to scramble for food. This group of carps seemed to be eating happily, but they were actually complaining in their hearts. Their original bodies are the real dragon clan, and the food they eat is extremely rare ingredients, but now, what are they eating? It tastes like chewing wax and has no nutrition. However, due to Yi Junlin's identity, they had to cooperate with the acting and act like they were wolfing down. Huh, is this fish wasting food? Yi Junlin, who was sharp-eyed, noticed that in the middle of the fish school, an old carp was the most shrewd. It first pretended to eat the feed, and then spit it out in a few seconds. The main point is that participation is important. It's shameful to waste food. It seems that this fish can't be kept. I'll use it to make fish head soup later. Yi Junlin said thoughtfully. The old carp was still feeling confident about his cleverness, but when he heard this, he was so scared that he opened his mouth and swallowed all the vomited. In an instant, the fish eyes almost turned white and turned into dead fish eyes. What a sin! As an elder of the true dragon clan, how could I fall to this point? Grandpa, please eat slowly. If it's not enough, I'll give you the rest. The little carp next to him saw this and communicated with his mental power. The old carp's eyes were full of relief. You are really my good grandson. On the other side, the native chickens were also in tears. Because these days, the new island owner was in a good mood and wanted to watch the cockfighting show, so they had to bite the bullet and fight each other back and forth. During this time, seeing the younger generations fighting fiercely, the old hen, as an elder, secretly sighed in her heart. I am so tired. The little donkey tied to the stable had even more suffering. The reason was that it called several times in front of the island owner, and was forced to change its voice, resulting in all kinds of messy animal calls whenever it opened its mouth. At this time, after feeding the feed, Yi Junlin looked at the carp in the pond, frowned and said to himself. So good at eating, I have to bring more next time. Hearing this, the carp almost blacked out. If you really want to do good for us, don't always come to feed us. Sometimes, I really feel helpless. Suddenly, a clear and tender voice sounded from the sky, Master, dinner is ready, come and eat quickly. Oh, it's time to eat. Swish, Yi Junlin immediately set off and left the fairy island and returned to the outside. Seeing the young man leave the yard, all living creatures breathed a sigh of relief. Ahem, it's so disgusting, what is Master Yi feeding us? The worst thing is that he comes almost every day now, morning, noon and night. I'm about to vomit after eating, ah. Oh, it's so hard to be a fish these days. In the pond, the carps were complaining. And the group of native chickens were also complaining, be content, you at least have to eat, we not only have to eat, but also have to perform cockfighting shows for him. What's so hard about being a fish? It's hard to be a chicken. Beside the stable, the little donkey stood up in grief and indignation, and said, woof woof woof. Are you suffering as much as I am? I have forgotten how to bray like a donkey, meow. All the creatures calmed down and looked at the little donkey. To be honest, only in this matter do I think Island Master Yi is right. The old hen said seriously. The other creatures nodded in approval. Hearing this, the little donkey was extremely angry, you are too much. Do you still have any sympathy? I am a donkey, quack. The old hen said in a joking tone, sorry, I can't resonate with you on this point. No wonder you are a chicken. The little donkey said angrily. Who are you scolding? The old hen and a group of her peers surrounded her and glared at her. Miss Lu, please judge for yourself. Am I wrong? Awoo. The little donkey couldn't help but raise his head and howl like a wolf at the end. Willow was speechless about all this. Now, the outside world has changed drastically, and all places are highly involuted, only their Island Master Yi is still leisurely and lives a casual life every day. Either feeding fish or calling chickens. Willow could not comment on this. Who let him be favored by the heaven? Everyone, think about it in a positive way. Isn't this another kind of practice? Willow racked his brains and said far-fetchedly. All living creatures fell silent. You know how to practice. And in the outside world, Yi Junlin was enjoying a rich and delicious meal, eating and drinking with his disciples. Brother Hong, you seem to be worried recently. Li Wuji glanced at Hong Chenny and asked curiously. No, Hong Chenny shook his head, and a hint of brilliance flashed in his eyes. It would be a lie to say that he had no worries. A while ago, he heard Li Wuji talking about the conflict in Shanshan, which reminded him of the grievances between him and the 8 great sects in the central region. The faces of the enemies appeared in his mind one after another, making the desire for revenge in his heart stir. With his current strength, if he returns to the central region, he will definitely be able to do something earth-shaking again. But how should he explain to his master? Hong Chenny was worried. After all, he had concealed his identity at the beginning. If he mentioned this matter now, he would be considered to be strong and want to fly solo. This is a taboo in the sect. Zhao Hong, are you feeling uncomfortable? Yi Junlin put down his chopsticks and asked seriously. Hong Chenny thought again, and said with courage, Master, I. Before he finished speaking, he was blocked by the next sentence. Drink more hot water. After explaining, Yi Junlin continued to eat. It must be said that Xiaoxi's cooking skills have improved again, and even the spiritual rice can be cooked so deliciously. Absolute, really amazing. Hong Chenny, what the hell is drinking more hot water? At the same time, in the distant sky, there were thunderous sounds that resounded through the sky, and a group of powerful figures formed a team and rushed into the east region with great momentum. Warm reminder. If you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error, or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. Chapter 240, C240. Looking forward to it. 500 powerful figures stretched across the sky, emitting hundreds of millions of bright fairy lights, and the light directly covered the sun hanging in the sky. They unleashed their cultivation unscrupulously, and their overwhelming momentum was as vast as the sea, making countless monks in the eastern region startled and confused. Are these all immortals? When were so many immortals born in the eastern region? In the sky, the 500 true immortal level experts looked at each other and smiled, not to mention how happy they felt. This time, the Kangming Dao sect, in order to have a chance to win the 100,000 immortal mountains, and even the entire eastern region, specially sent them to demonstrate. You must know that a fairy-level team of this size is a luxurious lineup in most dojo in the central region. Not to mention this mere eastern region. Wouldn't that mean walking sideways? Is it okay to walk upright? Yi Wusheng is very confident, and all the elders are very confident. With the joint pressure of these 500 true immortals, they will definitely be able to make the entire eastern territory the back garden of the Kangming Dao sect. This is called finding another way and taking the lead in advance. At this time, 500 immortals were walking over the eastern territory, with wild smiles on their lips, looking at ants wherever they looked. Everyone, I think we are too impressive. Yes, if we were in the central region, how could we be so arrogant? A while ago, our sect was oppressed by those beasts of the Wuji Dao sect. Hey, don't mention this kind of bad luck. Since we have come to this barbarian land, it is our home court. We can do whatever we want, and no one can do anything to us. That's right, even though it's a long journey, it's worth it to show off to a capable person. I'll come back next time I'm free. The same goes for me. These 500 immortals talked all over the place. Generally speaking, they all enjoyed this feeling of pretentiousness. If the sect wasn't in the central region, who would be willing to stay there and suffer the wrath of others? But now, I feel like a dragon entering the sea. So cool to fly. Everyone, don't forget, our first mission here. Elder Wei, the leader, said solemnly. I know, you are talking about getting rid of the Xuantian sect. Another fellow disciple said coldly with a cold light flashing in his eyes. The other disciples sneered again and again, and were determined to destroy this Xuantian sect. Let me ask, if 500 immortals come out together, who can compete with them in the eastern region? These humble local monks have probably never seen so many immortals in their lives, right? Tisk, tisk, so pitiful. However, we must first find someone to ask, which direction is the Xuantian sect? Elder Wei's eyes flashed, and he released vast spiritual consciousness and spread out. Xuanji Sword Sect. Several ancestors were alarmed. They were all immortals. They had been secretly paying attention to the Yuha sect so that the fifth ancestor of the Yuha sect would not dare to act recklessly. Later, when the Yuha sect was destroyed, they stayed in the Xuanji Sword Sect and continued to practice. This is coming towards us. An ancestor sensed something and looked solemn. Don't panic, everyone, I'll go negotiate with them. A stern man in white walked out with a sword and frowned. Aha! Shui Wuan appeared in the sky above the Xuanji Sword Sect and said in a deep voice, Everyone, what do you have to do with us? When Xiwan Xianshan was born, he happened to be in retreat, so he didn't know that Kangming Dao Sect's world walking had a conflict with Xuantian Sect's Li Wuji. 500 immortals arrived in unison and looked at Shui Wuan with interest. Hey, this is still a swordsman. It's incredible, it seems that this eastern region is still a crouching tiger, hidden dragon. What are you afraid of? Even if we turn this place upside down, we won't be able to find a force that can compete with us. Hearing these words, Shui Wuan was not angry, and his eyes even showed a trace of pity. It's simply a frog in the well. Elder Wei didn't notice this strange thing, and said with an arrogant expression, You must be the strongest person here, right? In his opinion, Shui Wuan is a true swordsman, a rare existence in the central region. After all, these 500 true immortals might not be able to win if they fight alone. Therefore, this person must be the face in the eastern region. Unexpectedly, Shui Wuan quickly shook his head, as if he deserved this title, and denied it. Unfortunately, I am not. Oh, not only Elder Wei, but other fellow disciples were also very surprised. Then I have to ask, who is it? Elder Wei raised his eyebrows. It's Senior Yi. When Shui Wuan mentioned this person, his eyes were full of admiration. Senior Yi, everyone looked at each other. Elder Wei became interested. Where is this person? It's in Xuantian sect, Shui Wuan said. Boom. As soon as these words came out, these 500 immortals were full of energy and emotions. The color of the sky and the earth changes, lightning flashes, thunder roars, violent storms, and the weather changes for millions of miles around. Shui Wuan raised his eyebrows. So excited, could it be that he is going to visit Senior Yi? HMPH, Xuantian sect. Elder Wei's eyes were gloomy and he sneered. Tell me, where is Xuantian sect? I'm warning you, don't be clever, otherwise I will definitely. Before he finished speaking, Shui Wuan actually stretched out his finger and said in a clear voice, Go directly to the south, which is about 80 million miles away. The Xuantian sect is right there. Elder Wei was speechless. Judging from your reaction just now, I thought you were tough and would never reveal any information. The result is this. The fellow disciple behind him looked disdainful. You know what I mean. Elder Wei felt a little proud, thinking that the other party must have been frightened, so he revealed the Xuantian sect's location without reservation. In fact, if you think about it carefully, it makes sense. After all, anyone who sees that they have 500 immortals will know that the Xuantian sect is going to die. There is a saying that goes well, those who understand current affairs are heroes. You are very good. When we destroy the Xuantian sect, you will represent our Kangming Dao sect and be the talker in the eastern region. Elder Wei said. Shui Wuan was stunned and looked into Elder Wei's eyes. It's like looking at a mentally retarded person. Destroy Xuantian sect. Just you, Elder Wei, don't pay attention to him. Look how excited he is. Another fellow disciple sneered. Shui Wuan, no, which of your eyes saw me excited? Is there something wrong? It's important to do business, let's go. Elder Wei flicked down his sleeves, crossed thousands of miles of mountains and rivers, and headed towards Wangzhou. At this moment, 500 immortals went straight to Xuantian sect. Murderous. Shui Wuan looked in his eyes and his expression became more and more sympathetic. Oh, how sad. These days, there are still people rushing to die. As true immortals, Elder Wei and the others were flying very fast and were getting closer and closer to Wangzhou. When I think about coming to Xuantian sect later, seeing countless frightened faces, and hearing all kinds of voices begging for mercy, I start to look forward to it. By the way, if they ran over like this, that senior Yi would probably be frightened to death, right? These are 500 immortals. 500 people.